Next, on America's Day at the Races, a $1.2 million daughter of Triple Crown champion American Pharoah makes her debut. Will Orsay live up to expectations first time out? In the Grade 3, Athenia, simply breathless, left the competition, gasping for air in her first 2 state starts. She looks to add a second graded stakes score to her resume as the favorite in today's feature. She'll have to run down Sweet By and By to get her picture taken. This 4-year-old filly comes in off a wire-to-wire score at Belmont as she makes her graded stakes debut. All that and more coming up on this Sunday edition of America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Welcome to Elmont, New York. Glad to have you with us. Thanks for spending part of your Sunday afternoon with us. Those watching on Fox Sports 2, good to have you. Greg Wolf alongside former champion jockey Richard Migliori as we get set for our ABR race of the week. It is the Grade 3 Athenia on turf, and Simply Breathless, already a graded stakes winner on the West Coast, now trying to add one here on the East Coast.
And a lot to like there, not only from her form, but an inside draw. A mile and a 16th on the inner turf, I think, is always a big advantage. Gets Joel Rosario, who could not be riding any better. Certainly a lot to like.
Well, she has been tough for trainer Neil Drysdale, and she won the first 2 starts since coming to the States at Golden Gate, and then the Grade 3 Wilshire at Santa Anita, where she beat a 10-horse field that day.
10-horse field, but boy, what a trip she worked out. Got to save every inch of ground under jockey Flavian Pratt before finally swinging to the outside. But after he made the elbow, that's the key to successful turf racing, is saving ground. And boy, she got a turn of foot too. She picked up horses rather quickly there.
Yeah, that was impressive. We'll see if she can bring that form here to the East Coast and be as effective. Simply Breathless, you'll have the inside post. As you mentioned, Joel Rosario hops aboard for the first time. Neil Drysdale, we know, is a very patient trainer, and he picks his spots usually to perfection.
Yeah, he's not a guy that just runs horses to run. He finds spots, he points for them, he tries to have the horses as good as they could be. Actually just ran into his assistant trainer in the racing office, so certainly people that I knew out in California, nice to see them ship east.
Of course, Sweet By and By. We'll talk more about the feature later, though, but that looks to be, again, a chance to be alone on the lead and try and wire this field.
Well, speed's always dangerous, and if she gets to go by herself and get as comfortable as she did last time, she's going to make them pay because she's a tough mare. She's hickory. She shows up every single time. I should say filly, she's 4. But it'll be interesting, too, as the day goes along, we do have some rain forecasted. It's misting a little bit right now, not a lot going on. I think it was supposed to start already. It'll be interesting to see if we get enough rain to affect the condition of the course.
All right, we'll definitely keep our eyes on that as we get closer to our ABR race of the week. Track conditions brought to you by Piranha Fly Spray, the preferred fly spray of Belmont Park. Piranha on, pests gone, main track fast. Turf course for now listed as firm, but as Meg mentioned, we'll keep our eyes on the weather throughout the afternoon. And we're going to bring you races 4 through 10 featuring that Grade 3 Athenia. But we have a race coming up in just about 10 minutes here in the 4th. And a mile and an eighth on the inner turf, which we'll set the stage for here in a moment. You can bet all the races that we show you each and every day on the program with Naira Bets. Get signed up, started, play along, bet $200. You'll get a $200 new member bonus in your account. Got to use that promo code LIVE at sign up to take advantage of that. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. With Naira Bets, go to nairabets.com or download the Naira Bets app to take advantage. Fans having a fun Sunday out here at spacious Belmont Park. I love this weather. We don't have a lot of sun today, but it's perfect conditions. Nice, cool, not too cold, but a little overcast. Reminds me of back home.
Yeah, it's not too cold either, and there's not much of a wind. So, you know, when we're sitting up here and it's actually windy, that's when it kind of I get cold anyway, just because you're not being able to move around, keep your blood going.
I have 3 coats on. I might have overdone it. This 4th race, you saw quickly there the field and the current odds. The 6 right now, Bacchanalia's favorite, Chad Brown, Klarovich Stables, filly by Union Rags, making start number 3.
Yeah, and you know that she's going to take a lot of money just from the Chad Brown factor. I read Ortiz aboard, but do you think really she's a deserving favorite? I think there's horses in here that, to me, have shown just as much, if not more than her.
Well, she was beat by Romantic Pursuit last time out. Of course, Kalan Bond, the 1, finished ahead of her last time out. And Romantic Pursuit, who she's faced, ran third in the Sands Point, ran fourth in the Jockey Club Oaks. She's running later today. Actually, I want to say she won today at Keeneland earlier.
Okay, well, I
She
mean,
just
listen,
won.
she did face good company, but, you know, Chad Brown, she was coming off a layup, but Chad Brown's so proficient off of layups. It's not as though you expect her that she needed a race. It doesn't seem like his horses ever need a race.
No, they usually don't. So, yeah, start number 3. And here is Colon Bon, who finished ahead of Summer in Saratoga last time out. And that horse, just won at Keeneland to break her maiden earlier a few minutes ago.
Okay, so you're keeping up on like how good the races are they're coming out of for sure. This filly exited the race at Kentucky Downs where she narrowly was defeated, and she'll probably appreciate getting back to her home front at Belmont.
In front, start number 2, Shug McGahee, War Front filly, 9-2.
This is who I like. Shug McGahee, second time out. His horses get better with racing. He's not a guy who cranks them up for their first start, acting a little bit green with the pony there.
Funny Flowers, Barkley Tag sends this one out.
And she's had a couple of races that are okay, but she'd have to improve. Her last race she could put a line through, that was off the grass.
So Bacchanalia, Chad Brown, and a daughter of Union Rags, Irad Ortiz, or Junior, will be aboard.
Wouldn't surprise me if she won. I'm just a little surprised that she's a favorite at the moment, but she should get that right kind of trip with Irad Ortiz.
You know, a lot of stops and starts for these 3 starts for Bacchanalia as well, a little troubling. The 7 is still Bill Mott.
And a filly who ran a real good race last time. She showed more speed, gets Johnny Velasquez today.
And Ava Malone, the other Chad Brown filly in this spot. She's coming off a 3rd-place performance against Atomic Blonde, who looks like she is very good for Todd Pletcher. She's won 2 straight.
2 straight, and gets Rosario, who I just think is moving horses up right now. They just run into his hands so beautifully, and I think she can get that kind of stalking trip she may need.
Yeah, of the Chad Brown runners, I actually preferred Ava Malone.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Out of the 2 Chad Brown horses, I would prefer Ava Malone, but I'm really high on the 2 in front. I thought her first race was good. She kept on gamely. I think she got tactical speed, which could be important here, because if Estelle, who didn't show speed previously, doesn't show the speed she showed last time, who is the pacemaker here?
Oh, that's a good question. And by the way, in front, who you like, so 9-2, was beat by a Chad Brown runner who was debuting, put up an 82 Bayer, Shelter Island, that first time out effort. And then Kelly Can Run, who was 3rd in that race, we just saw win earlier this week here.
Yes, and so I think she comes out of a quality race. And I go back to the Shug McGahee factor. A trainer that does not really tighten all the screws down on them for their first start, wants them to improve with racing. She looks great on the racetrack. She settled down with the pony after balking, walking up to him. And I think there's a lot to like here. She's by Warfront, arguably the hottest sire in the world, if certainly in North America.
5 minutes to post here in the 4th. Let's check in for the first time with Maggie Wolfendale.
And we'll be checking in with the inside runner, that is Kulin Bon, for trainer Christophe Clement. And I haven't seen her since earlier on in the summer, and she's actually done very well in the interim. I think she's filled out tremendously here, just really rounded out her hindquarters, really kind of rounded out everything from her neck to her shoulder, and so on and so forth. She's dappled head to toe. It feels like you kind of want to forgive all horses for Kentucky Downs efforts, to be honest. Just some don't handle it, although she was the beaten favorite that day and did give up a lead, but she's cutting back a little bit in distance here to the 1 1/8, which I actually prefer for her overall. So I think Kulin Bon is very, very competitive here based upon what I see from her physically. Now in front, the horse that Richie likes, I do think Estelle will be in front here, in front, because she was super sharp and continues to be so out on the racetrack. But in front could sit that nice stalking trip here. She'll get an extra half a furlong, and she's a big, beautiful daughter of Warfront. You know, she's not that kind of, I don't want to use the word dumpy Warfront, but Warfronts tend to be heftier types, very bulky. They carry a lot of weight. And while she is a big bone type of runner, she's very fit, and everything's kind of where it needs to be, and certainly benefited from that race because she never really gave up. She just kind of ran evenly, and it feels like with experience, with the fitness, she can capitalize on that and maybe display a little bit more of a turn of foot, a little bit more at the end. And then Friendly will look at the 2 for Chad Brown. Number 6 is Bacchanalia, who I liked a lot last year, to be honest, but she's finished behind some nice, decent horses, although Kulin Bon did beat her here in that comeback race in July. She is a bit of a bigger horse as well, and she just feels like maybe fitness is a factor. She once again is coming off a bit of a break, but she looks incredibly fit out there. She's gotten a little bit more higher energy since getting onto the racetrack. She's pretty quiet back in the paddock, but seems as though her blood is pumping now. But Ava Malone, now granted, day at the spa, she was very good, but she was kind of the outlier in the entire pedigree. I mean, she hasn't thrown anything yet of consequence, and none of her siblings were very good, and kind of going back a generation, there really wasn't much in the pedigree. So sometimes, while she is by Curlin, who is always very influential and good, I just don't know how good it is. Sometimes when you have that outlier of a dam or a mare, then sometimes it doesn't carry through to the next generation. But Ava Malone, she does look a lot like her dam. And two, I love the way she warmed up out here, just moving so efficiently and swiftly under Joelle Rosario. She looks very, very fit, and she's actually grown and filled out a tad, so a step forward from the last time I had seen her, which was as a 2-year-old. So they are now going to the inside runner, Greg Coulibaly, who unfortunately might have to be my pick in here as well.
Maggie, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I thought this horse deserved to be favored. I think that this is the horse to beat. This is who I like in here. I mean, first of all, the horse who's favored right now has to make up 4 lengths on this horse from when they last met. Now, look, you're getting the best trainer maybe in the game right now, Chad Brown, with an opportunity to move that filly forward in the 3rd start of her career. But I thought Kalon Brown moved even forward and ran an even better race at Kentucky Downs, even though she got beat.
No, absolutely. She ran a big race there. Maggie alluded to it, just what a difficult course it is. You know, that it's got that undulation to it. It kind of comes uphill, downhill, all around. And she gets an inside post going a mile and 1/8. Very, very short run to the first turn. It's a huge advantage.
Well, this was when they met at Belmont back on July the 5th.
And right here, you saw Colleen Bond had to wait for room, and is even still here having to muscle her way out. I can't give any excuse for Chad's filly there. She had an opportunity to kick on. She didn't. Now, maybe she'll improve, you know, with that race, but she's had a break since then as well.
And I mean, you usually see turf fillies from that barn finish.
Yes.
In the stretch, and she was not finishing there. But we'll see. Today's a new day. She's 5-2, but the favorite is this one here in the rematch. Kalon Bond. I asked Larry Colmus, our track announcer, if I was getting that correct. I think I'm close.
I'm so bad with the name, so I just follow along with you guys. I'm blindly, if you say it that way, I'm assuming it's correct.
So
I think the board is evening out, and you're getting really a more realistic. I just think the 6 is the favorite. To me, it wasn't right. I actually think the 2 should be a shorter price than the 6.
7-2 on in front. This makes this a good betting race. There's the Shug War Front filly. So 7-2, I should say. Wow, from a 9-5 morning line.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. And I know, like, are you of the school that when they're a little bit cold on the board compared to, let's say, their morning line, that it makes you worry? Or you're happy to get the price?
With first-time starters, I think more so.
Okay.
But from that barn, would you really be that worried? I wouldn't be.
I'm not. Shug McGahee's a Hall of Famer for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there she is, moving in. Warfront filly. Dylan Davis will be aboard. But the favorite now 9-5 is the money starting to come in. 2-1 on Kalon Bond from the inside. Junior Alvarado, we set it upstairs to the voice of New York Racing for the call to kick off our Sunday afternoon action. Here's Larry Colmus.
Estel and John Velasquez step up to the starting gate, and here's Ava Malone to complete the line, and they're all in line. They're off. Kalon Bond and in front go out to the early lead, and then it's Funny Flowers, Bacchanalia, followed by Estel and Ava Malone as they make their way into that turn, and it will be in front to take the lead. Funny Flowers on the outside. Kalon Bond rides the rail in third. Estel goes up fourth. Bacchanalia right behind them, running in fifth by 2.5. Ava Malone is the trailer. So onto the backstretch they go, and through an opening quarter mile in front leads the way over Funny Flowers, who's 3/4 of the length behind. The quarter was 24.28 seconds. Estel is third on the outside. Calanbon is fourth, and then Bacchanalia and Ava Malone is last, and racing about 7 lengths off of In Front, who is just that up the backstretch. Funny Flowers 3/4 of a length behind. And then it's Estel on the outside of Calanbon. Bacchanalia travels fifth behind them, 4 lengths off the lead. Ava Malone is the trailer. In front, through a 48.72 half mile as they make their way into the far turn. Funny Flowers, 3/4 of a length behind, running in second. And then it's Estel, followed by Calanbon, fourth on the inside, getting shuffled back just a bit. Bacchanalia fifth, and Ava Malone. Around the far turn, In Front, a half a length. And then it's Funny Flowers in second. And now here comes a 3-wide bid by Estel, who's up into second position. Funny Flowers throws in the towel. And then Bacchanalia to the outside, and Calanbon. 3/4 in 112.8. They're into the stretch, and In Front is In Front. Coming down to the 8th pole, Bacchanalia. Now charging up on the outside, it's these two, 1-2 as they arrive at the 8th pole, and Calanbon fights on between them, but didn't get through there. On the far outside, it's Ava Malone, it's Bacchanalia in front. Calanbon in second, then In Front, and then Ava Malone. It is Bacchanalia by a neck on the wire. Ava Malone was second, Calanbon was third, In Front was fourth.
Well, not only does Chad Brown win the race, he runs 1-2 in here with Bacchanalia and Ava Malone.
Well, he had a little help, didn't he? He had a little support there. 1-2, the one horse, Calanbon, it was very unlucky, just extremely unlucky. You know, when you ride turf races, you've got to save ground. Junior Alvarado was doing that. It just didn't pan out. There's a big difference between a bad ride and an unlucky ride. This was an unlucky ride. He did everything right, and it just didn't break open for him. The winner actually did come over just a little bit on him inside the 8th pole. You're going to see here as he comes out to split horses, he's going to kind of shut the gate there. Didn't quite get there, but he had to steady a little bit and then try to find a little more room, but very unlucky.
And it was a double whammy. Still before that was keeping Dylan pinned in.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, Junior, excuse me, yeah. But, you know, that's turf racing, and I know some people jump on and say, that was a bad ride from Junior. It wasn't a bad ride. It was an unlucky ride. There's a big difference.
In the end, well, hard to beat that barn and those silks. Chad Brown, Klarovich Stables, Bacchanalia get the job done at 7-2, beating the stablemate Ava Malone. We'll be back with the prices from the 4th, set up race 5 at the start of the Empire 6 when we come back.
Warfront. This son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. With Grade 1 winners on dirt and turf, and star performers both at home and abroad, Warfront's success as an international super sire is unmatched. Recent Grade 1 winners include Omaha Beach and Preakness Stakes hero War of Will. In the sales ring, his $2.4 million sale topper at Keeneland September was the highest price yearling sold in North America last year. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
You know, I think Run Happy has a lot of things going for him. Obviously, he's been very respected, and to, you know, to give people further incentive to buy them for where they can take an offspring, run it, and if they win, they're going to get a $100,000 bonus for each Run Happy they have. You know, it's another selling point from our perspective that really helps us promote the horses that we're representing and we're selling.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the races and into the winner's circle in the 4th, Chad Brown. I ride Ortiz Jr., Klarovich Stables, Bacchanalia, breaks her maiden, career start, number 3 for the daughter of Union Rags.
Well, the public had it right. She was favored early. She kind of drifted, but paid 9-10 and beat her stablemate, Ava Malone. So Chad Brown had reinforcements, just in case.
But as you mentioned, with that trip, keep your eyes on Calanbon next time out.
Yeah, just very unlucky. Junior did everything right, saved every inch of ground, and then it just didn't break.
Let's head downstairs to the winner's circle with Maggie.
And here with Chad Brown, who runs 1-2 in here, but Bacchanalia for Klarovich Stables getting the win. And a horse that showed some promise as a 2-year-old, has had some stops and starts in her career, but really put it together today, Chad.
Yeah, she's a little bit of a high-strung filly. You could probably see in the paddock and in her first couple of races. But I got her to relax nicely today, and she's maturing.
And also Ava Malone running very well out of one of your best New York breds, Day at the Spa.
Yeah, named after my daughter, so I'll have a couple people to answer to. Her first. She didn't want to fire me, but no, she ran really well. You know, she's improving. I really like the way she's coming around. She started off a little slow in her development, and she's been working well lately, and it was a very encouraging race for her. And she looks like she'll probably get the 1.25 miles like her mother down the road. So I'm excited about her future.
Cool. And speaking of working well, your champion, or I should say probably future champion, I got a little ahead of myself there, but Bricks and Mortar, he worked again today, lights out on the turf course, and I'm going to put it out there. Have you made a decision?
Yeah, we're leaning towards the 1.5 mile race, so I'll cross-center in both races tomorrow to give us some opportunity to change our mind if we want, but that's the way I'm leaning right now, and I couldn't be happier the way he's training.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing him. And Chad, congratulations here.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, Greg, it looks as though Bricks and Mortar heading to the Breeders' Cup turf.
That is a really interesting development because Bricks and Mortar, of course, I would think right now that is maybe your leader in the clubhouse for Horse of the Year honors, and trying to cap off a perfect campaign, Arlington Million winner. They've been leading mile for the longest time. A horse kind of in between distances on championship weekend, but now it sounds like they're leaning the other way.
Well, you know, watching him work, though, he seems a little more settled. There's been times in his works earlier in the year, you could see he would get keen and he would throw his head around a little bit and want to do more than the rider wanted. He's been very settled about it. Maybe that's what's leaning them towards the 1.5 miles. I mean, he certainly got a 1.25 miles very well in the Arlington Million. Another 1/4 mile is a long way, but if he settles, that's the key. Horses that pull too much tend not to get the 1.5 miles. I'm seeing a more settled horse.
He closes things out, wins that race. Is he deserved to be Horse of the Year in your mind?
You know, barring some spectacular performance by a horse that's already a main contender in the Classic, I would think so, because it's one of those years where it's very wide open. Nobody's been dominant, really. It's you know, a lot of inconsistencies, good performances, okay performances. He's been a gem of consistency, and it's, you know, not unheard of to make a turf horse champion. It's not usual,
yeah,
but it's not unheard of.
Yeah, and I guess the other arguments, the filly Midnight Bisou is trying to put together a perfect campaign as well, but a couple of other names in that mix. We'll see how it plays out on championship weekend. Take a look at the owners' standings coming up here at the meet in a little bit.
Yes.
First, we're going to talk Breeders' Cup Classic and a throwdown we saw between Code of Honor, your Travers winner, and Vino Rosso in here. And does it take away for you at all that, yes, he beat older horses, but he did it being moved up via disqualification?
No, because I do think there was enough there to warrant the disqualification. My only issue with this disqualification was that I want to see it called that way consistently. And, you know, there are times when you'll see something like this and it doesn't get called. So if you're going to call it all the time. That was my only thing. He definitely got hampered by a bigger horse. You're going to see Vino Rosso come out into Code of Honor.
Code of Honor on the outside.
And, you know, when you take into account the margin of victory, which was a nose, you've got to think it had an effect on the outcome. How's that?
Code of Honor had put a nose in front.
He actually did get in front. And again, I do think by the letter of the law, this was the right call. I just want to see that call all the time.
And what do you think now? I know that you've really been impressed with him as he moves into championship weekend now. Do you think he's progressed out of that race?
You know, that's the worry. When horses have a knockdown, drag-out battle the way Vino Rosso and Code of Honor did, is are they going to be worn out from it? Is it going to make them go backwards? I think both horses, if they can step forward, and I think Code of Honor is carrying better weight since the Jockey Club Gold Cup than he has the entire year.
You could probably make the same argument about this horse right here. Vino Rosso, not only is he a Grade 1 winner on the West Coast at Santa Anita, where we're going to have the Breeders' Cup this year, but he, according to Todd Pletcher, we heard him talk to Maggie the other day saying he wished the race was now. The horse is doing so good right now.
No, I can tell. I mean, watching this work, this is as good as he's ever worked. I picked him in the Jockey Club Gold Cup because I thought his work into that was special. And I said his horse is going to run the race of his life. This work was better than that work. And look at the way he continues. I mean, this is on the training track. He's going to continue. He gallops out. He continues all the way around down to the backstretch. I think he came out of the Jockey Club Gold Cup better than he went into it, and I thought he went into it as good as he ever was. So it's interesting that 2 horses coming out of a very hard race seem to have actually thrived on it.
And a horse, again, who's won at the distance on that racetrack. We'll see, obviously, they've made some changes to that track, probably a little bit deeper than it was when he was last there. But you take a look at the contenders. There's also a Mare in that group, a late, who everyone all year long has been saying probably at her best at 1.25 miles. Now she's going to get to prove it against the males.
It's a really interesting work from a late, short, sharp work. And, Maggie had mentioned this yesterday. Maybe it was an attempt to kind of sharpen her up because she's been a little bit one pace. I mean, she's doing this 34-3. What do we say? It's not how fast you're going, it's how you're going fast. Look how easily she's doing it. I think the key to success for her is the 1.25 miles if she can, handle the company. And the fact that they got to let her use her stride. She has a big stride and she has stamina. Don't hold her up and turn it into a sprint or a finish. Let her gallop. Keep them working to stay with you. Not that she needs to lead, but to keep them honest. Her weapon is her stride.
And is that the purpose of that kind of work, having a quick kind of 3-furlong drill to kind of get some aggressiveness?
I think so.
Yeah,
to have her forward. She needs to be forward and let her march on. Her best races are when she starts to rip the race open around the far turn. I think that's what they've got to rely on. Her strength is using that big, enormous stride of hers, and she will get the 1.25 miles. Now, she's going to face tougher. She's going to face the boys, but I like it. I like the 1.25 miles for her, and I think if they allowed her to run that way, she's going to be most effective.
All right, we'll see what happens. Of course, you're going to be trying to hold off a whole nother level of runners, but
sure,
we'll see. She's been so effective, undefeated in her career at 1.25 miles. You could be part of championship weekend out west at Santa Anita. Buy your tickets now and don't miss any of the action. Tickets on sale, breederscup.com/tickets. Should be a fantastic weekend. There's so many intriguing storylines within each division that makes it so much fun. Classic's certainly one of them. As we take a look at the odds for race 5, we'll be on the main track coming up next year. 50,000 starter allowance, 1 turn mile ahead, and a wide open betting board. As you can see, the favorite right now down on the inside, Jerome Avenue, I think we're going to see click down to 3-1 here in a moment. For trainer Steve Asmussen, just claimed off of John Kimmel, off a win on a sloppy track here at Belmont.
Yeah, I always wanted to see this horse on the dirt, and I think that's where he's going to find his most success.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Talk more of the 5th when we come back here on America's Day at the Races on this Sunday afternoon at Belmont Park.
Run Happy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's been home to some of the sport's biggest moments, monumental achievements, and extraordinary records. At Santa Anita, we'll set another before the first gate even opens, as the Breeders' Cup returns for a record 10th time. This November, the stars will shine. Champions will be crowned. And when the unbelievable happens, you'll want to be there to see it. The Breeders' Cup World Championships.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. Our show brought to you in part by Run Happy. Now standing at Claiborne Farm for $25,000. And we're going to see his offspring hitting the racetrack in 2020. There he is at a legendary stall number 1, formerly occupied by the likes of Easy Goer, Secretariat, just a couple of the legendary names that have been in that stall. Now Run Happy's home. And so far at auction, it has been tremendous how well they've been received.
Incredible, because they're good-looking horses. They're just big, solid individuals, got great walks on them. They're rugged. He's thrown horses with a lot of good bone on them. Let's not forget Bull Ruler, Secretariat's dad, out of that stall, too.
Yeah. It's 5th race here. Jerome Avenue still favored, so moving from John Kimmel to Steve Asmussen off a win for 40,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime, winning at a 1-turn mile at Belmont in the slop back on October 3rd.
And I believe this horse has a chance to control things, again, from the inside under Joel Rosario. He's kind of a big one-paced horse, so you want to allow him to use his stride. You don't want to hold him up and turn it into a sprint.
Right there, a look at Super Silver. Kendrick Carmouche, we know how aggressive he likes to be, although he was nowhere near the lead on this horse last time out. Did brush the gate coming out.
Yeah, the races that he's been most effective, though, are to me, are 2 turns. He shows 2-turn speed. They go slower. They kind of jump off, run to the first turn, and moderate. You see the halves in 48, 49. That's when he's on top of the pace. Last time, 23-1, 46-1, a little bit out of his comfort zone. And you're going to get those kind of paces the 1 turn because they build into that stride.
Meanwhile, here's our favorite. 3-year-old by Speightstown, who had been on the turf for the first 7 starts of his career. Then they actually tried to keep him on turf. It was washed off. Actually ran and showed some ability on the slop. Again, got a sloppy track again and won.
Yeah, and I always thought this horse would be more effective on the dirt because he is one-paced. Usually one-paced horses don't make very good turf horses because you need acceleration on the turf, unless you have one of those real marathoners who can just gallop them to death. But we don't have those kind of races really in the United States. We top out at about 1.5 miles.
We got another Chad Brown runner in this race. It's towards the outside. It's the 7 Other Things Equal, who debuted back in 2018 in Monmouth. Mind Control was in that race, who's become a 2-time Grade 1 winner. Won the Hopeful as a 2-year-old at Saratoga. Won an Alan Jerkins. He upset Chance a lot. Also in there was Grump's Little Tots, who was 3rd in the Easy Goer. So he showed ability. Then he was off for about a year. They tried him on turf. His next dirt start, he wins by 6+ lengths.
Yeah, maiden 30, so this is a big step up in company, but he was very impressive doing that, and there's no reason why he can't take another step forward. And the conditions of the race are for horses that have started for 50,000 or less, so it opens up a nice condition for these horses. That's what makes these kind of horses, I'm surprised, honestly, nobody went in for him, because knowing that if he was good, he can come back in a race like this.
He's 5-1 right now. We're going to check in with Jonathan Kinchin down in the paddock for more.
I mean, I've been sitting up there with you guys all week, and suddenly it starts raining. You guys send me down here. I'm feeling a little bit rejected. And I'm not bringing you guys any snacks when I come back up there. Look, I like a horse in this race. I'm a big Time Form US fan, and I believe that Time Form US thinks that this pace isn't going to be that quick. I feel like there's a lot of horses in here that could go to the front. The 8 Mental Model should run better than last time, drawn to the outside. I feel like that horse could be forwardly placed. Other Things Equal for Chad Brown. He snuck that one in for 30, didn't lose him there, and got this one eligible for the condition. That horse has a little bit of speed. The 5 with Super Silver with Kendrick, I think this horse could potentially go. And the horse on the rail, the first time asked me, some Jerome Avenue is another one from the rail. Now look, I've probably guaranteed the half's going to be 50 by saying that I think it's going to go quick, but I do think that they might hook up a little bit going the flat mile, and I landed on the 4 Sergeant Drive. I think this horse is going to be running late. I feel like this horse spent a lot of time down on the inside last time. You didn't want to be down there. Did circle wide when they got into the stretch, but the early part of the race was there. I think this one's going to get a nice setup in here. 7-2 is the price on the board, and I think this one could be motoring down the middle of the track. And hopefully you guys will let me come back up there and hang out with you at some point in the near future.
He's not coming back if he's not bringing snacks.
Got to have the snacks. Actually, I feel bad that he gets sent down there in the rain.
He's fine. It's lightly misting, if that.
Okay, Mr. 5 Jackets.
Here's Mental Model. This one was actually taken off of Chad Brown. Put this one in for $75,000, and Linda Rice said, thank you very much, and would win when dropped in for the tag by 6+ lengths. Then this horse got a bit of a 4-month layoff. Came back, tried to show speed again, as Jonathan mentioned, and was in that Sergeant Drive Big Muddy race and weakened late here. But it looks like, he was talking about some other speedsters in this race. I don't know if it sets up great for Mental Model in here.
Well, I do think he'll show that speed, too. Linda Rice has another horse in here as well, Big Muddy, who's a closer. They complement each other's styles, even though they're not coupled, different ownerships. But, from the same barn, you usually don't want to get in each other's way, and you certainly want to complement each other.
I'm with JK. I thought Sergeant Drive off that last out performance, that was a huge move forward last time out to the 50,000 starter allowance level. 1 turn mile here at Belmont, ran big to get second.
Yeah, and his second start for Rob Atras, who's been doing very good work here.
Here comes our post parade. We're going to see Jerome Avenue first. There's the favorite, 3-1 right now. Again, it's Asmussen off the claim with the son of Speightstown, Joel Rosario back aboard.
Coming off the best effort of his career, and I think they found what he wants to do, and that's run on the dirt. Tough inside post, though.
Big Muddy, 1 of 2 in here for Linda Rice, 5-year-old by Medaglia d'Oro.
A closer, a horse that's put together a nice record, 5 wins from 13 starts as he leaves the pony.
Edict, his only win, it came at Laurel on a race that was taken off the turf at 3-5.
Yeah, and this is a little bit tougher than he's ever faced before. He's going to have to show he can handle these guys.
Sergeant Drive, can he back up that big performance last time out for Rob Atras?
Well, if he can, he's probably very logical. He should sit the right kind of trip because this pace could heat up.
Super Silver, Kendrick Carmouche, Bruce Levine. Horse who should be forwardly placed.
Should be forwardly placed. I just think he has more 2-turn speed than 1-turn speed, but he does get a very aggressive rider in Kendrick.
Orlando Noda sends out a Lord who was second a length behind Jerome Avenue in that race in the slop on October 3rd.
He set an absolutely perfect trip that day and had no chance to get by Jerome Avenue. I don't think he can get a much better trip than he got last time.
I thought a lot of upside with this horse. It's Chad Brown, it's Klarovich, connections. We saw him in the last race, and really the only time he's been on dirt, aside from his debut in a very productive race, he won by 6+ lengths.
He won by 6+ lengths. He's going to be sitting right in behind the pace. If things heat up, he'll be the one in behind the wall of horses, so he should work out a good trip. Manny Franco's been riding terrific.
Leading rider at the meet will be aboard. Yeah, Manny Franco. And here's Mental Model. Linda Rice used to be, as mentioned, in the Chad Brown barn. Now with Linda, son of Into Mischief.
I think this is the horse most likely to make the lead for me. The outside post, Jose Lascano's been riding terrific as well, very aggressive. And when he won 2 starts back, maiden 75, he went fast. He ran 22-1, 45 flat going a mile. That's quick fractions.
So that's your field. This kicks off the Empire 6 wager. 50,000 starter allowance, again, on 1-turn miles. We look at the 4 there, Sergeant Drive.
But he's become really a favorite. Good. But he looks really good on the racetrack. I like the way he's all tucked up. You see how he's kind of carrying himself. His head's bowed somewhat. He's really in the bit, taking a good hold. I like when I see horses warm up like that.
And, we talked about how this race might play out with some potential speedsters. He could get the perfect trip. That was Jonathan's thinking as well, as we check it again with JK Trackside.
Guys, I look forward to hearing Mig kind of elaborate on this idea, but I think that when speed is drawn to the far outside and also on the rail, that sets up more likely to have a quick pace. And I think Jerome Avenue down on the inside, what's Joel going to do? Take back from there, eat a bunch of dirt down on the inside for a horse that just wired? I would doubt that's the case. I think he'll be forward away from there. There's a couple of speed horses in between, and then you also have the 8 Mental Model to the outside with speed. Those are the situations where I feel like it can kind of heat up. It can kind of go a little bit quicker than paper might suggest that it's going to go. The racetrack's obviously starting to take a little bit of moisture. It still looks fair enough out there. Probably the kickback will be a little bit more intense than it was earlier in the card. And that's why I'm sticking with Sergeant Drive with this good trip. The 4 horse should sit right in there, should be able to tuck back and get where he wants to go, hopefully avoid a little bit of that kickback and then produce a run down the middle of the track. But I'm interested to hear Mig elaborate on what happens when you got speed to the outside, the inside, and a little bit in the middle.
Well, I think Jonathan's got a really good handle on it. Everybody gets to going a little quicker than they intended to. Jerome Avenue is under the gun from the rail. Joel's got to use him, doesn't he? And Mental Model, he seems like the horse that, has been most effective when he's allowed to just roll. So he's got to go. I don't see the 5 Super Silver being able to keep up with these. I could be 100% wrong, but you look at the races that there's legitimate pace in front of him. He's never made the lead. He only makes the lead when it's moderate, or he tends to pace when it's moderate, like 49 and change in Saratoga 2 starts ago.
But what about that when you have a speed inside and a speed outside? It looks like those two definitely do want to go. If you're Jose Lezcano on the outside mental model, you might have to really push and work to get to that, to get to the front.
And
does that take a lot out of you?
Well, it will if he has to push him to clear Jerome Avenue, yeah, and then it's going to make him very vulnerable in the stretch. But Belmont Park is so enormous. And as a rider, when you break from the outside, even if you let your horse roll, you usually stay out there a ways. Just let him go down the backside straight for about 3/8 of a mile. You've got a full half mile to the turn. And there's very few racetracks you can say that about, where you can just allow a horse to kind of dawdle out in the middle of the track because you're not losing ground on the straightaway, and then ease down as you get further. So at least, even if they're going quick, they won't be on top of each other, keeping each other keen.
7-1 on the outside speed. 3-1 on the Horsewood Gate to Wire in the slop, Jerome Avenue. But the favorite remains Sergeant Drive right now. Made a great appearance on the track, as Mig pointed out. Coming off one of his best performances yet. That, the concern is this condition here. You have the majority of this field, I believe everybody in this field, has only, well, with the exception of the 1 and the 2, have just one win to their credit. Sergeant Drive's win came on a race taken off the turf against a 3-horse field.
Yeah, and again, I think there's a lot to like there. I went in a different direction. I wound up on the 2 Big Muddy because of those 5 wins. I like horses that have a winning habit. I know that he's run a lot cheaper. But I do think that if things heat up, he could really benefit and come with a good late run.
Well, Sergeant Drive, the 4, will be your favorite. There he is, stepping in with Irad Ortiz Jr. And Klarovich, Stable Silks, and Chad Brown with a 7 step in. A lot of upside, it seems like, in the son of Hard Spun, 3-year-old, taking on older horses here as we set it upstairs for the start of the Empire 6 and Larry Colmus.
They're all in line. They're off. A bobble at the break by Sergeant Drive, and it's Jerome Avenue straight out to the early lead. And then it's Allured away running in second, followed by Edict on the inside, and farther out comes Other Things Equal and Mental Model on the far outside. Then Sergeant Drive, Super Silver, and Big Muddy. Up the backstretch they go with Jerome Avenue in front. Taken on by Mental Model on the outside. Now it's these two together through a 23.5 quarter. A length and a half back to Allured running in third. Other Things Equal fourth on the outside. Then Edict along the rails. Sergeant Drive between. Super Silver to the outside. And last of them all is Big Muddy. So they continue up the backstretch and head for the far turn here with 2 of them battling. Jerome Avenue and Mental Model, noses apart on the lead ahead of Allured in third, past a 46.86 half mile. Other Things Equal is fourth on the outside. And then comes Edict down toward the rails, Super Silver alongside, Sergeant Drive under a drive behind them, and Big Muddy, who's trying to mount a bid from the back of the pack, but still a lot of work to do. So Jerome Avenue will turn for home in front with Mental Model right alongside in second. Plenty of competition coming. Allured is 3 wide in third. On the extreme outside, it's Super Silver. Other Things Equal is right there in the mix too as they arrive at the 8th pole, and now the leader is Allured. Allured has taken charge here. On the outside is Super Silver second. Other Things Equal is third. Up into fourth is Big Muddy, then Jerome Avenue. Allured's got it. Allured and Dylan Davis pulling away in the end to beat Other Things Equal. Then it was Super Silver and Big Muddy.
It's Allured. Dylan Davis. Orlando Noda had claimed this one off of Chad Brown. Gets the second win of this 4-year-old son of Flatter's career.
And I thought he had an absolutely perfect trip last time. Well, guess what? He actually topped it, even got a better trip today. Dylan Davis gave him a terrific ride. Things heated up a little bit in the middle of the race. Or the first quarter of a mile, I was like, well, no one's really going to go. But then things did heat up into the far turn. Dylan was able to find the seam between horses. This horse really kicked home. And that loud yelling and cheering we heard behind us, that was Orlando Noda and his crew. They are very vocal.
That's the Noda brothers, and yeah, they've burst onto the scene here at the Belmont Spring Meet. Had a nice Saratoga as well. T Loves a Fight, one of the runners that he kind of helped bring a resurgence to, and now they have another one that's been a very nice claim here. This was easy. Allure at 5-1. 6-7, 5-2. Here in the fifth, I'm going to step aside Maggie Wolfendale. Hopping on the desk right after a short break to set up the start of the late Pick 5 here on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2. Stay tuned.
What could be better than standing one Triple Crown winner? Standing two.
Here comes American Pharaoh. Justified, turning for home in front. And American Pharaoh has Justified. He's unstoppable. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharaoh, Justified, has won the Triple Crown.
Coolmore, America, home of Triple Crown champions.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Go from Railbird to Winner's Circle. With My Racehorse, you have access to top horses and trainers, backside tours, exclusive ownership experiences, and fast payouts to your online account. With shares starting as little as $100, the Winner's Circle is waiting for you. Go to myracehorse.com or download the My Racehorse app today to join the thousands who have already started their journey as a racehorse owner.
Welcome back to America's Day at the Races, presented by Claiborne Farms. I am here with Orlando Noda. The A that messed me up a little bit there. Were you pretty surprised when this horse was entered for a tag up at Saratoga this summer?
Oh, no, he's a $600,000 baby, and we shook on him with 10 people, and when I put him in for 50, I thought he was going to be claimed.
That might have been the biggest win so far, huh, winning that shake?
Oh, yeah, no, it's a blessing. Like I said, we're a small outfit, and we're still growing.
Last time he ran, he was a little bit closer. He's down on the inside and a little bit closer to the pace, took back a little bit. Did you think they were going to kind of run in front of you a little bit?
I leave it up to the jockey. I don't tell him no instructions, run the race however it plays out.
I remember this summer, one of my favorite interviews, you mentioned what you were going to be doing after the races. I think you were going to pop some bottles. Have we got any bottles popping tonight?
Hey, for sure. We're popping bottles tonight. That's for sure.
Congratulations. We'll see. Will we see this one back? Did he go to?
No.
Oh, yeah, you started allowed, so you're good. All right, man. Well, good luck. We'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Welcome back. Hi, Jonathan. That was just fantastic. Orlando Noda, he might be the most enthusiastic person we have on the racetrack as far as trainers are concerned, Meg.
We're up here on the third floor. In the stretch run, I could hear him from down by the winner's circle, loudest rooting you've ever heard. And you know what? I love their enthusiasm. I love they'll be popping bottles. And he's certainly enjoying himself.
Not that we're asking for any reimbursement, but he sure has timed his wins well, because he seems to be always winning on our show, always present to get an interview, and he's quite entertaining and a very enthusiastic young man. We love that. $12 for Allure to get the win here. The favorite's kind of out of the trifecta, that's for sure. Welcome back to America's Day at the Races. I'm Maggie Wolfendale with Richard Migliore, Jonathan Kinchin, Greg Wolf, having a little break here on the show. And Mig, yes, the rain is coming, but it hasn't come too hard. We're speeding up post times.
Yeah, it looks a little bit, like right now, it's just starting to come a little bit steady, but light. It's not a downpour by any means. When they tighten up the races like this, so they're going to run the races faster to try to beat the weather, makes it really hard on the riders. You're down in the basement, the jockey's room in the basement here at Belmont Park, so they've got to run up and down flights of steps out to the paddock, then from the winner's circle or the unsaddling area to the jockey's room. You got to get in there, wash your face, either change your pants or knock the dirt off your pants and boots and get ready and go out and ride the next one, especially, like the Ortiz brothers, guys like this who's going to ride almost every race. they are just constantly running the whole time.
And two, I mean, luckily the track is still fast, but also when you're dealing with a wet track and we're speeding up post time, that's even more because you have to deal with the cleanup and all the goggles.
Yeah, you have to clean up, and now the valets do a great job with that. And usually what you do is I always rode had 3 helmets. So they have 2 helmets set up for the next 2 with the one you're riding to be the third, and then they switch out while you're out riding. And it's just a lot of hustle on days like this to get the card in before the weather gets too bad. I never enjoyed it. I liked having a little more time to kind of think about it and look at my races a little more carefully.
And two, it's always better to ride on a sunny day.
Oh,
the weather's
absolutely.
quite nice. I mean, beggars can't be choosers, that's for sure. But we are still on the turf, and the next race number 6 coming up, is on the turf, 1 1/8 optional allowance. It's a good one where Chad Brown holds a firm hand in it as well, looking for a second win on the card here on America's Day at the Races, kicking off the late pick 5.
Flatter. This prolific son of AP Indy has sired 6 millionaires, including Eclipse champion West Coast. This year, he's adding even more stakes winners to his outstanding record, including Sovereign Award winner Avies Flatter. In the auction ring, his yearlings have topped the Phasig Tipton July sale 2 years in a row. Success on the track, success in the ring. Flatter, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Piranha, the leader in fly control and wipe and spray products, now has premium equine grooming products. Introducing Aloe Pro Shampoo, an organic concentrate enriched with vitamins A, D, and E, and silk protein. Piranha Detangler, a dry comb-through detangling spray that conditions, moisturizes, keeping tail and mane manageable. And Shine Baby Shine, a water-based coat conditioner that leaves a show ring shine every time. Visit piranhaeat.com to see our full line of equine products, and for a limited time, use promo code NIRA to receive a 10% discount on your order. Piranha on, pests gone.
I think the bonus is really interesting. Mr. McInvale, as usual, is thinking outside the box, doing a wonderful job promoting his horse. Buyers will really appreciate having an opportunity like that to come back and run their horses at these top tracks and earn that bonus.
It's a wonderful incentive both for people in the market and people that own these horses. And I mean, what a great bonus it would be for anybody that wins. I think it's wonderful.
Run happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're gonna go traveling.
Welcome back. America's Day at the Races continues here on Fox Sports 2. And as always, we are brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. And Mig, I'm terrible with my timing, but we're less than 2 weeks away from the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks coming quick.
Are you getting psyched as well?
Oh, I'm really pumped up because I think so many of these races are just so competitive. To me, there's just no slam dunk in any of them. We talk about Bricks and Mortar, who's just been absolutely perfect this year. He's trying something he never tried before, the 1.5 miles. Good scoop, by the way. I guess Midnight Bijou would be the most likely winner at this juncture if you were to look at the whole Breeders' Cup card.
Yep, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Is Midnight Bijou. Maybe if people are playing that card, she might be the single, as we'll watch her last performance. It was the Belle Dame here at Belmont Park on September 28th, where she just kind of toyed with her competition, I think, as you are looking at the probables there. Some 3-year-olds taking on some older horses. I'm sure a few of them will be cross-entered in the filly and mare sprint. But Midnight Bijou, as we look at this last ride, we see John Velasquez subbing for Mike Smith. As Wildcat, she got close, but she never really got a sniff.
Yeah, they made some contact there, and then she drew away. I actually think she just lost interest for a while, Midnight Bijou. She's been having a target. She's been running from just off the pace or stalking even further back her start before when she beat a late nose. And I think being on the lead, because there wasn't much pace in the race, she just got bored.
Yeah, now here's her work. Now, Steve Asmussen and company went took their good horses from Saratoga and shipped them directly out to California. So right after that win, she went to California. This is her work from last Monday. She'll work again tomorrow leading up to it. We see Mike Smith aboard here.
Yeah, and she looks great. And this was a typical Steve Asmussen kind of move. In hand, put them in company, let them cruise. You're not looking to, break track records in the morning. You're just trying to keep and maintain the fitness level that she's achieved through this whole campaign.
Do you like what Steve has done with his horses? I think he's the only trainer not based in California that has done this, besides Chancelot and Jorge Navarro.
I really like it. I think you give a horse an opportunity to acclimate out there to the weather, to the racetrack, get accustomed to the surroundings. She spent a few weeks in Saratoga after the meet and then shipped right there. And he's been very successful doing this in the past.
Yeah, so Midnight Bisou, she might be the proverbial free square as far as the Breeders' Cup is concerned in that distaff, but we do have a couple horses exiting the Spinster, which was a good prep for the distaff in Dunbar Road, taking on some older company. We'll see a late finishing second in here as well. She's heading to the Breeders' Cup Classic. Pretty sure it's been confirmed. Now, Dunbar Road, I think she had not the best of trips in here, and I'm kind of willing to forgive her for this effort.
Yeah, not the most comfortable trip down on the inside, and she did get a run, though, and, just seemed like she was having a little trouble getting to the spot where she needed to be. Like, she had a fight to get there. Blue Prize is so good in Kentucky, and she got her trip because she's a funny mare. When she hits the front, she wants to pull up and do little tricks. I think they got to use a late stride. I know she's running the Classic, but I think holding her up, waiting on horses is a mistake with a big mare like her. I think she has stamina and she's got a huge stride. Rip the race open around the turn. Let her do her thing. Let her really use that stride to her advantage.
Yeah, exactly. And it seemed, too, that a lot of the races were won at Keeneland on the dirt with kind of more wide sweeping moves. So that right there maybe makes me believe that Dunbar Road.
Well, that really complements Dunbar Road then, because she was the one stuck down on the inside with no choice but to take the rail.
Absolutely. As looking forward to it no matter what. As Jonathan, you don't think it's a free square with Midnight Bisou. I heard you're going to try to beat her.
I'm going to try. Now, look, I love Midnight Bisou. I think she's a remarkable filly. She's a fun story. We love superstars in this game. But I'm going to try to beat her. Look, she's run at 1 1/16 9 times, and she's undefeated going the 1 1/16. All 9, she won all 9 of them. Going 1 1/8, she's run 6 times. She's got beaten 4. Now, look, I get it. She's matured. She's probably a little bit better now than when a majority of the time she went further than 1 1/8. But I just think there's an opportunity to beat one of the shortest prices we'll probably see for the entire weekend. She's undefeated. The fans love her. She doesn't have to deal with a late, and she's going to take a lot of money in this spot. And I think if you can beat her here, there's an opportunity to make some money. I'm going to try to beat her with Street Band, Dunbar Road, Blue Prize, maybe a little Serengeti Empress, and possibly a little Paradise Woods.
Well, the local contingency as far as Paradise Woods is concerned, okay, I get it, JK. But you can't deny the fact that she's 7 for 7 this year. But on the flip side of that, does she, if she does happen to lose, is she denied older filly mare? That's quite impossible as far as
I feel like she's wrapped it up.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happened, she's just been too consistent. She's run from basically the whole year and held that form. And Maggie, you know as well as I do how difficult it is for a horse to hold their form for that period of time. There's so many ways to lose, and for her to string together the victory she has, to me, she's champion older mare no matter what, older filly or mare no matter what.
Yeah, I forget who said it on the show earlier this year, but it's like what Steve Asmussen has done with her now as a 4-year-old, the same kind of thing he did with Gunrunner as a 4-year-old. They were good 3-year-olds, but they're now brilliant in their, this latter half of their campaign.
And I think that's why he is who he is in a Hall of Famer, because horses continually improve.
Yeah, so exciting Breeders' Cup distaff that will have less than 2 weeks away as you're checking out Dream Passage, as she is a second choice on the board, the speedy girl, as she'll look to take them gate to wire for Brad Cox here on America's Day at the Races.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Eclipse champion Blaine was considered by many as the breakout stallion of 2018. His top runners included Grade 1 winner and Eclipse Award finalist Marley's Freedom, plus Grade 1 winner Fault, and graded stakes winners Morale, Beyond Blaine, Miss Kentucky, and Blaine. This year, his 2-year-olds have sold up to $700,000. Outstanding results, outstanding value. Blaine, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's been home to some of the sport's biggest moments, monumental achievements, and extraordinary records. At Santa Anita, we'll set another before the first gate even opens, as the Breeders' Cup returns for a record 10th time. This November, the stars will shine. Champions will be crowned. And when the unbelievable happens, you'll want to be there to see it. The Breeders' Cup World Championships.
America's Day at the Races continues here on Fox Sports 2 as riders are getting a leg up in the paddock as number 5 Dream Passage for Brad Cox. We see assistant trainer Dustin Drugas there legging up Jose Lascano, who climbs aboard for the first time here, Meg.
Yeah, and Joel Rosario seems to have gotten along very well with this speedy filly, and Jose's been riding terrific too, so I think it's a lateral move. It's not a backward step. Just sometimes that a little bit of familiarity helps, especially with a horse that has that kind of speed.
And I think the reason why we don't see Joel Rosario on Dream Passage today is because she's actually been entered and scratched through no fault of her own. She was entered on Thursday. We canceled racing that day. She was entered yesterday in the New York bred stake in the Ticonderoga, and she opted to run here. So obviously the agent of Joel Rosario probably gave Christophe Clement the call in Jalon.
Yeah, and when you have a lot of business with somebody like Christophe, which he does, Joel rides a great deal for Christophe, you don't want to alienate a stable over one horse.
Right.
You know, you need to keep those relationships good. So sometimes, even though you see a jockey change or a rider winds up on a different horse they've been riding, people maybe read too much into it. It's sometimes about preserving relationships too.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. As you know, Dream Passage, she's going to try a 1 1/8 here, and she has yet to do it. She started off her career as a sprinter. Can she dole out those fractions successfully here?
You know, I have my doubts about that. A 1 1/8 here at Belmont can be very demanding, and she carries 126 pounds. She's given up to 4 pounds to everybody in the field. I think she's vulnerable, despite the fact that she may have a huge advantage pace-wise.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, Al Asail, she has some speed, but she's not quite as fast. As we'll check out Al Shakab Racing's Jalon, Joel Rosario, as we were mentioning, for Christophe Clement.
Yeah, this is where he lands, and if things heat up on the front end, I think it'll help her. Her best run was when she caught pace at Monmouth and was able to finish.
Mighty Scarlet goes out for Chad Brown, one of 2 that he sends out here.
And another one that would be aided by a faster pace. She's a deep closer. And Irad Ortiz, though, and Chad Brown, they're tough to get by.
That they are, is Al Asail. She is going out for trainer Kieran McLaughlin. Luis Saez back aboard.
And I think she's going to be the closest pursuer to Dream Passage. She should be in a good stalking spot. Luis Saez is such a good gate rider, though. Wouldn't be surprised me if she bounces out first.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm scared of. It's only second time facing older horses is Dream Passage. She's the 5-year-old mare by Stormy Atlantic, the New York bred, coming off a huge win last time out here in September.
Well, she would have got a 1 1/8 that day because no one was catching her and she wasn't slowing down much. But the 1 1/8s run a little bit different, and I think the key to her success is going to be settling on the lead. I don't think she can throw down the kind of fraction she did last time.
Brisk warm-up there from my sister Nat, the other Chad Brown runner.
She's been showing a tendency to lag, and I think Johnny Velasquez is making sure that he gets her interested. You know, you want a horse to get that good gallop, open up their lungs a little, then give them a chance to settle down. But that's usually when you want to put them just a little bit closer, or just have her in touch anyway.
Yeah, and that's the problem that she's had in her last few efforts is, JK, as we throw it down to you, we could hear her galloping off from from up here on the set, but is that kind of the intent? Are you hoping that My Sister Nat can lay a little bit closer, or is she a toss for you? She's the current 9-5 favorite.
You know what's funny is usually when you have horses that have stories, have a name, have something to get the public to get excited about, I try to beat those horses. Tried to beat My Sister Nat last time at Saratoga. I just don't feel like I can try to beat her here today. She ran pretty well that day, broke slow, came wide in that race, while her stablemate Mighty Scarlet spent a lot more time down on the inside. And then look, this is kind of a silly thing, but Johnny Velasquez is getting on My Sister Nat for the first time. Her sister, why she's famous in the first place, Sister Charlie, Johnny's ridden her in every one of her starts here in North America, so maybe Johnny knows a little something about the family. And I'm glad you guys talked a little bit about Joel Rosario not being on Dream Passage. I was a little bit concerned about that, but you guys explained it perfectly. I think those two horses, Dream Passage and Alasail, will go and kind of hook up a little bit and set it up for Johnny. And it makes total sense that Joel didn't want to spin Christoph, even though I think Mig's going to spin me for dinner tonight.
Uh-oh.
I'm heading north. Sorry, I'm not having dinner anywhere near. I'm having dinner at Mama Carmela's kitchen.
Yeah, JK, we don't live that far. You're more than welcome at the Morleys. Yeah, we do see Dream Passage. They're kind of flip-flopping there. And My Sister Nat, as JK mentioned, is the sister of My Sister Charlie, as well as oh gosh, his name just completely went out of my brain.
The horse that was third in the Arc.
Exactly. So toss.
Okay, well, I'll leave it to you.
I still can't quite say it.
Yeah, but
it must be said. But so a very good family, at least as far as those two runners are concerned. She's kind of yet to live up to that as of now. But I will say she was super wide. She was a little bit bothered at the break, kind of put behind the 8-ball there. But then again, Empress of the Nile, she kind of won the race in the same position that My Sister Nat was in.
Yeah, no, and I understand. And you know I'm not a fan of outside post positions. Now, this is a small field, so it's not as big a deal. I'm not a fan of outside post positions in turf races, but I think it actually benefits My Sister Nat because she's not the handiest away from the gate, so she's not going to run the risk of getting squeezed or buffeted about between two horses. I think it gives her an opportunity to get away a little cleaner and find her stride.
Yeah, and as we saw, Johnny giving her quite a big warm-up, I think just saying, hey, girl, get your head in the game here. And two, I've always thought last one in, not first one out in her case, but at least with the pack.
But at least clean her out,
yeah,
right?
Right.
And I'm a fan of big warm-ups. I really don't understand when I watch guys jog horses or walk horses to the gate. Now, I know that, there are exceptions to every rule, and you get an extremely nervous horse that you can't set off at all. But they're athletes, and they're going to spring out of the gate and go from 0 to 40 very quickly. They need to be warmed up. We wouldn't just jump out of bed and go running as fast as we could. I mean, I know I can't, but it takes me an hour to warm up. But.
I mean, I remember when Newspaper Record was trying to get back on track, they tried in her last two efforts to not do any warm-up, not to set her off, and it almost seemed as though it did the opposite with her. It made her more rank, as we are checking out the last matchup between the two Chad Brown horses in Mighty Scarlet and My Sister Nat.
And you can see the disparity of the ground loss between Mighty Scarlet and My Sister Nat. I mean, My Sister Nat lost so much ground, basically got shot out to the middle of the course, and that's so difficult in Saratoga. It's a lot kinder here. She gets a smaller field, should get a better trip. I think there's a lot to like here about My Sister Nat.
Now, would you have rather had My Sister Nat's trip or Mighty Scarlet's trying to weave in and out of horses?
On the turf, I'll take the inside trip every time,
Okay.
and I think there's a big, like we were talking earlier, Junior Alvarado kind of had a tough trip, right? But there's a difference between a bad ride and an unlucky ride. When you're going to win more turf races saving ground, because usually works out. The time it doesn't, just take it, put a line through it, and ride the same way next time.
All right, we'll see if Dream Passage can last on the front end, or will it be the sister to My Sister Charlie, My Sister Nat, here in race number 6 as we throw it up to Larry Colmus.
My Sister Nat moving into the starting gate, and they're all in line. They're off. Alasail and Dream Passage came out well with Mighty Scarlet away to their inside. And on the rail, it's Jaylon, a part of the early pace as well. The four of them dashing into that turn, and sitting off the speed will be My Sister Nat, who now goes about 6 lengths behind front-running Alasail, who has taken charge here over Dream Passage in the early stages. So these two now 2 lengths apart and 2.5 lengths ahead of Jaylon. And then it's Mighty Scarlet as they scatter up the backstretch. My Sister Nat is 10 lengths behind. 23.92 was the first quarter. Alyssa Yale and Luis Saez out there by 3. With Dream Passage allowed to settle back in second by Jose Lezcano. They've got 4 lengths on Jalon in third, who's got another 3.5 on Mighty Scarlet. And then My Sister Nat, 12 lengths from the top as they continue through this first half mile up the backstretch in 47.87 seconds. Alice Ayil, the leader. Dream Passage is second, and now she's a length and 3/4 behind. And then it's Jalon in third. Joel Rosario and Jalon have 5 lengths to make up as they move for the far turn. And then come Mighty Scarlet and My Sister Nat, who is still on hold at the back of the pack, but getting closer with every stride as she comes up alongside of Mighty Scarlet and is going to have a bit of a wide trip around that turn. It is still Alyssa Yale by 2 from Dream Passage, who's now a length and a half behind. After that, it's Jalon, Mighty Scarlet, and My Sister Nat is still last here and now coming under pressure. 3/4 in 1:12.21. They're into the stretch. It's Alyssa Yale in front. Dream Passage coming to confront her down the center. Dream Passage on the outside of Alyssa Yale is taking the lead. And then it's Jalon, Mighty Scarlet, My Sister Nat on the far outside, all running out of time to catch Dream Passage, who's got the lead close to home. And Dream Passage is going to do it by 2.5 on the wire. Mighty Scarlet was second, My Sister Nat was third, and Jalon was fourth.
Dream Passage didn't make it to the lead, but it didn't matter here, Meg, because actually the fractions were quite quick by Alyssa Yale.
For a mile and an eighth race, the fractions were quick. Anytime they crack 48, they go less than 48, going a mile and an eighth on the turf here, it's quick. I tell you got to give Jose Lezcano a lot of credit. Got Dream Passage to settle very nicely just off of her and take over command. She was good. She ran on. She finished the deal. Shade in 12, her last furlong. And honestly, I can't make any excuses for My Sister Nat. They went quick enough. She really didn't come up with any kind of run.
It's like she doesn't have the turn of foot that her siblings do. She just kind of grinds away and doesn't really show the same brilliance, does she?
No,
although it's hard to be as brilliant as My Sister Charlie.
No, but you would expect with at least the quicker fractions. Like she was grinding, and I love the shot down the backstretch. It's very European, Maggie,
Yep.
right? They're single file. Everybody's looking for a little bit of cover. Everybody's just kind of following one another along. Kind of interesting. You don't see that too often here.
No, I mean, obviously aided by the 5-horse field. But, yeah, I'm sure Chad Brown liked what he saw. Doesn't he seem to want to train his horses that way as well? And Dream Passage, you know, it looked going into the first turn that she might get a little rank with Jose, and then she settled beautifully for him.
He did a really good job, especially for the first time sitting on a horse. When you don't have that familiarity, particularly with a horse that could have a tendency to get keen, you know, they can run off with you. You do the wrong thing. You grab them the wrong way, or you just get in a fight with him. He really got her to settle beautifully. And I tell you what, great job by the Brad Cox barn. This filly, or mare now, has turned things around. She's probably deserves a step up in company.
Yeah, she hasn't missed a beat. I mean, for New York bred, they took her to the fairgrounds for the winter. She has not had a break, and she seems to be thriving and getting better with each start. And Brad Cox has tremendous numbers off wins and turf routes. I think he's hitting at between 30 and 35%.
Wow, very strong numbers. Yeah. And, you know, didn't want to face 55 yesterday. Probably a wise choice. And found this spot. And I liked when you said there were 52 New York bred millionaires. Well, 55 became the 53rd one.
Right, isn't that funny? Yeah, no, and deserving. She's been sensational as a New York bred. As this time it wasn't Chad Brown, it was Brad Cox with 7-5 on Dream Passage as your unofficial winner. Stay tuned. America's Day at the Races continues as Greg Wolf and Jonathan Kinchin step back on set here for me. We'll have official prices for you on the other side of this break.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Tom Durkin letting you know New York breds start with an advantage. At the sales, buyers pay up to 7 figures. And there's over $2 million in stakes money limited to New York sired horses in the New York Stallion Stakes Series, like the Park Avenue for 3-year-old fillies.
Newly minted wins it for fun.
For fun and money. The winner's share generates an additional $55,000 from the New York Breeding Fund.
Funny Guy's gonna do it.
Funny Guys win in the Times Square division generates the same money. So get with the program at nybreds.com.
What constitutes a promising stallion? Speed? He's still the fastest tappet ever around 2 turns. Pedigree? He's got the strength of the founding fathers, top and bottom. And he's passing that strength on. With 2 graded stakes winners and 3 TDN Rising Stars from his first crop, he's one of the leading freshman sires in the country. Constitution. He's the son of Tappet we've all been waiting for.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Back on America's Day at the Races, someone stole my hats. There he is, enjoying this Sunday afternoon card, and we had Dream Passage look pretty impressive here in race number 6. Brad Cox, Jose Lizcano, Circle B Racing, and a 5-year-old mare by Stormy Atlantic wins for the 7th time on turf in her career, and she is very sharp right now. Greg Wolf, Jonathan Kinchin taking over for Maggie Wolfendale, and Richard Migliori. They're going to get a brief little rest here as we take things for a little bit. We're going to preview some of the championship races coming up, and of course move along here in the card at Belmont. But Dream Passage, big performance.
Yeah, she did it the right way, and look, it's another example of the advantageous situation of being forward in these turf races. You don't have to worry about if the pace is too slow, and that's what I think the Sister Charlie, the 2 Chad Brown horses, and Mighty Scarlet ran into.
Your best bet for this card this afternoon, where are you going to land?
Yeah, I landed in the stake on, I always struggle pronouncing the name here, Victorine. Wide last time, closing into a slow pace. It's one of my favorite angles in racing, when you can find a horse who in a turf race was wide all the way around there, closing into a slow pace, and I think this one's going to be sitting on a great price, 6-1 morning line, and that's where I'm going to try to get my single and home in these late sequences.
All right, we'll get to that one eventually. That is our ABR race of the week, Grade 3, Athenia Victorine, 6-1 morning line in that race. We'll talk more about it as we get closer to post time for that big one coming up. Championship weekend, just a couple of weeks away. And a look at the sprint contenders coming up. Loaded group as Catalina Cruiser shifting gears and passing on dirt mile. Looks like he's leaning here, and though he still may cross center, but it sounds like they're leaning here. But a horse who is going to come in fresh, and with the exception really of being drawn inside on a time when the rail was definitely not good at Saratoga, Matoli has had an incredible campaign.
No, he's an incredible racehorse. I think I made a joke earlier on one of the shows this week that there was a Saturday in May where we were all wondering if he was going to get 7 furlongs in a Grade 1. He did so there. He did so at Saratoga, and he also even won the Met Mile in one of the deepest editions we've seen in a long time. He is an exceptional racehorse, and like you said, that inside draw where he kind of got shuffled back on a bad rail is his only kind of bad performance this year. Now he's going to be cutting back to the 6. Matoli needs to draw outside, get a trip similar to Roy H. has gotten the last couple years, just sitting out there stalking the speed, and he has a chance to run by him. I still like Chancelot a little bit.
Yeah, and as far as Matoli, though, you're not gauging, oh no, is he not the same horse? He bounced back off that performance, and he won the Forgo impressively as well. Chancelot, the 3-year-old sensation who put up the highest buyer speed figures for a 3-year-old in the history of this sport in the Amsterdam. Barely getting beat by Omaha Beach, but you like him coming back.
Barely getting beat by the horse to the inside Omaha Beach with the red cap. who is an absolute freak to do what he did in this situation here, also running well in the Arkansas Derby. That's why I like Chance-A-Lot coming back. He's got speed. A lot of times in this Breeders' Cup Sprint, the speed of the speed wins. We saw it with Run Happy. We've seen it with Secret Circle. We've seen it with lots of different horses in the past, and I think Chance-A-Lot's the speed of the speed.
His Alan Jerkins performance doesn't scare you away at all?
No, I think he got kind of shuffled.
Distance.
I think he was down inside. I think there was a mistake made. I think he should have used his speed there instead of trying to ration it as much as he did. He was down on the inside, and he still ran respectably enough in that race. He just happened to get beat. I think maybe the previous performance took a little bit out of him.
And it was at 7 furlongs, as opposed to going 6, what he'll be doing in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Meanwhile, Imperial Hint, he's the one who put away Matoli at Saratoga in the Vosburg, and did so in track record time as well.
Yeah, look, this horse is special. What he did at Saratoga this summer was remarkable. He's had a lot of performances like that. He's run well in the Breeders' Cup before. And, you know, look, a lot of horses like this, when they get headed like this, they throw in the towel. And he didn't throw in the towel. He fought back against a very good horse in Frenzy Fire. My only concern is he's got the nickname the Little Rocket. He's a small horse, and I think performances like this could take a little bit out of him. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but he's definitely a usable type come Breeders' Cup Saturday.
The track record-setting performance, that was in the Vanderbilt at Saratoga. This was the Vosburg, of course, where he battled Frenzy Fire, looked hopelessly beat down on the inside, but showed his heart, his toughness, and yeah, he does not give in. Some people say, well, you have that tough of a race now that you're going to go to the Breeders' Cup on. They don't like it because maybe it took a lot out of you. Others say, well, look, he got a test. It's a great thing going to the Breeders' Cup, which, by the way, will be his 3rd year in a row.
He could just, you know, a lot of times it could work the other way. He's battle tested, right?
Yeah.
When they turn into the lane, you don't win Breeders' Cups by open lengths typically. When he gets into the lane, he's going to have a dogfight, and he's shown here on this race course that he'll do it, and I'd imagine he'll do the same out in Santa Anita.
And that's a race, by the way, where Frenzy Fire here at Belmont, he's arguably been at his absolute best. So he took a shot from a horse who's run better here than he has anywhere.
No, absolutely. He ran into Frenzy Fire on his racetrack and got headed by Frenzy Fire and still found a way to come back and win. It was a very impressive performance. But now he's going to have to deal with the horses like Chance-A-Lot, Matoli. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
We're talking about those big 3. There's a lot of other intriguing names, though, in that race. Be part of it. See what happens, how it all goes down. Championship weekend at Santa Anita, November 1st and 2nd. Get your tickets at breederscup.com/tickets and see it all. And say hi to this guy, too, who's going to be out there taking in the action.
I will. I love the Breeders' Cup. It's one of my favorite weeks of the year.
It's a lot of fun. In that sprint division, maybe the most intriguing division of any heading in a championship week.
I completely agree. That race, I'm one of the ones I'm the most excited about. It's always a lot of fun, and we've got like 3 superstars in there. Chance-A-Lot did something that was unbelievable this summer. Matoli did something that was unbelievable earlier in the year, and can't forget about what Imperial Hint did either.
And with Catalina Cruiser going to this race now, I mean, he is a sensational horse.
His race here at the True North was special, and he's going to have real pace to close into this time with, because they're going to run. They're going to go 21 and change, 44 and change with the horses that you see in here. Maybe 43 and change. You never know, especially sometimes they can get a little quick out there at Santa Anita. And Catalina Cruiser's going to have exactly the setup that he's going to want.
Sprint division, a lot of fun. We're going to get back to today's action, though, on the Sunday card. 7th at Belmont, coming up next, a mile on the turf, $32,000 claiming race, wide open betting board. As you can see right now, Hieroglyphics, the 9, is a 4-1 favorite. Kieran McLaughlin, horse coming in from Parks last start. We saw him this summer at Saratoga as well.
No, look, he ran well in his last 2 starts. He was beaten there. He gets to switch to Johnny. He's been running good since he was with Kieran. I remember the horse back when Todd had him. He was kind of knocking on the door as being a stakes type horse and ended up running for the tag and obviously not the same as he was there, but it's a very tough spot in here. I thought Siding Spring was interesting. Lucky Ramsey. This is a very, very difficult race. Oh, and don't forget about Tusk and our boy Kendrick Carmouche.
Yeah, who showed his speed last time out. Different rider on board. Now with Kendrick aboard, you would have to think that horse is going to be forwardly placed, but Siding Spring, the 10, wants to go to the front as well.
Look, and this horse is interesting for Mike Maker. I don't know what to make of him here because Maker claimed the horse for 25, runs him in a protected starter allowance race where he ran well enough, and then now runs him not protected. I don't know if maybe Maker just kind of knows people don't like to really claim off of him just because he's so good in the claiming department, and so he thought, well, let's try him here and see if we can't sneak one past him. But I thought he was interesting on paper. I was a little concerned about that move.
Yeah, Sighting Spring, meanwhile, the 10 has been in, or back to the 10, I should say. He's been in some tough spots. Allowance optional 62. He's been competitive in those groups. Horse has been in some stakes races as well. But some of these others have also, including Bondurant, Mike Maker, second off the claims. Got another one in here. And Jose Lezcano will be on the other Maker runners. You look at Sighting Spring, who's 5-1 right now. But there's a lot of ways to go in this race. Both Makers, I think, have a chance.
Look, I've said it before. I think Mike Maker is one of the most underrated trainers, underappreciated trainers in the country, especially when he tries something new with horses. And so Bondurant was a horse I've always kind of been interested in. He's a half to McCracken, who was on the Derby Trail a few years ago. He was with Ian Wilkes. He never really could break through as that top-notch horse, and it's interesting to see that Mike Maker came in and snagged him up. He's 7-1 right here, and I think he is another horse that could run well. You ran at Kentucky Downs last time, kind of had an inside-out trip there. Kentucky Downs, the inside speed is kind of where you wanted to be at Kentucky Downs this fall, and I think he's got a shot to run well here as well. Look, I don't normally recommend the all button just because I think there's at least one horse you can get rid of, save those combinations. I know most people don't like that, but I normally don't like it. This is a very, very complex and complicated race.
Let me just tell everyone out there right now, never leave just one off. Don't go all but one on a ticket. Just use that one. Just go all. I thought Lucky Ramsey, 6-1, intriguing here, second off the bench. For more on this group, though, as we approach the 11-minute mark to post, let's get a Paddock report check in with Maggie Wolfendale.
And guys, especially in a race like this, when you look at the board and there isn't one horse at double-digit odds, so everybody's sitting at very similar prices as we are 11 minutes out from post time. So that's when I just go to what I tend to know, but doesn't always work, and that's just what horses look best. And that includes number 1 in here, Morrison. Mind you, I've always been a huge fan of Morrison. He's just this big, good-looking, burly gray horse, and he's feeling very good in here. His energy, going back to when he returned off the layoff earlier this year, wasn't quite the same as it had been in years past, and now today I'm seeing the same Morrison. He's being pretty fresh there as they try to get the blinkers on him. His last couple efforts, though, out of town, they leave little to be desired, but maybe I can't even say this is an easier spot necessarily, because there's just so many horses in here that have that back class to go back to, and his is there, but it hasn't shown it this year whatsoever. But physically, he looks fantastic. As the other horse who's impressed me is number 9, Hieroglyphics, for Kieran McLaughlin. This is one going back that I haven't seen since a year ago. I actually hadn't seen him in his August 3rd performance up at Saratoga off that long layup. But sometimes he would have the propensity to get really washy before his races and just have that overall nervous appearance. Granted, it never really affected his running too badly when he was in the Todd Pletcher barn, but this is by far and away the best I've ever seen him appear. I mean, his weight is tremendous. He's got a good disposition here, ears forward, very alert, but not hot, not washy. I love what I'm seeing from Hieroglyphics. And again, another horse that has that back class to fall back on, especially as a 3-year-old. And then what do you do with Tusk? I mean, he's kind of been all around. He's danced every dance. Is he going to be the speed here? I don't know. He has to deal with Sighting Spring. But it's funny, like these Navarro horses that come in, they're usually speed types. They never display that disposition in the paddock. Even though Tusk in the past I've seen be very much on his toes and very awake, every Navarro horse that ever comes in here is very quiet. They're just very, very, I don't want to say dull acting, but they just automatically go into kind of this very quiet disposition, and that's something that Tusk has done here. He looks fine. His weight's good. I don't know. I'd rather go elsewhere, at least based on appearances from some of the other ones I've seen and mentioned, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thanks. I don't know, for Sighting Spring, you look at how he's raced in the past. When he's been on the lead, it's never worked out for him.
No, and they tried to put him on the lead last time, and the pace wasn't really that fast either. So that's even a bigger issue that I have with it. Is they put him on the front end. He didn't go that fast, and he still got caught late in a starter allowance race. So I'm questioning why he's in for a tag again after they protected him last time. And so maybe Maker wasn't happy with that performance and thought maybe it was time to part ways. The outside draw definitely helps, and having a little tactical advantage on the turf is always an advantage that as a horse player I like.
The jockey you saw a moment ago, that was Manny Franco. He's going to be on board Siding Spring, the 10, who we've been talking about at 5-1 on the board. Manny leading the way here at the meet, and he started off this afternoon on a winning note as well in Danny, California.
Yeah, Manny's a phenomenal young jockey. We hear a lot about Irad Ortiz and Jose Ortiz, but Manny Franco is right up there with those guys when it comes to talent, his ability to finish, his ability to read the form and understand and put horses in the right spot. I would have no problem putting Manny on a Grade 1 horse in any race.
The silent assassin.
Good kid, too.
Not real loud, doesn't say a whole lot, but he always has a positive attitude, and usually in the mix at this Belmont meeting, and this time around, he is leading the way, and it looks like he has a very good chance to close things out. There he is. Very talented young rider, and he'll be aboard Siding Spring the 10, 5-1 on the board, and we'll see what the tactics are this afternoon. This horse seems to have been more effective sitting, stalking, and making a run.
I will say this, though. One thing I've recognized with Mike Maker is first-time Maker trying something new is always good. But sometimes if he's not switching the distance, maybe he's changing how he's training the horse, changing equipment, changing how the horse is being ridden. So there's always an opportunity for Siding Spring to run better this time. I just wish he would have dug in a little bit better last time.
No, this was 2 starts back on September 8th when he faced Lucky Ramsey. They'd finished 1-2. Siding Spring would get the win. This was when he was dropped in for a $25,000 tag. Mike Maker would take him out of this race.
Yeah, I would imagine Maker always feels confident when he takes a horse, the horse wins, and then he comes back. So, look, I think Siding Spring, especially at 5-1, a lot of times as a horse player, you have questions you need to answer, but you usually have to answer those questions at 6-5 or 8-5. You're getting 5-1 here to answer a question.
I like the horse who chased him in that race. That was Lucky Ramsey's first start since December. He didn't return until that September 8th race. I would think he has to move forward in this spot. If he does, he's going to be tough.
It was a long layoff Lucky Ramsey's coming in off of, and if you knew his owner, the General, you'd be rooting for him a little bit more. One of the best racetrack characters out there.
Really? All right, 7-1 right now on Lucky Ramsey. Here comes our field, and we'll start with Morrison, son of the Factor, a 2-time winner on turf in his career.
It's 0-5 at Belmont. His last 2 races just aren't as good as I would like to see from this horse.
Harv, wow, he's favored right now. Harv won't tap. Irad Ortiz Jr. David Canizzo just claimed this one off of Bruce Brown.
You know, he's going a little bit shorter than he normally does, and he doesn't really show a lot of speed. He's going to need to get himself involved in the race earlier.
Bondurant, Mike Maker, second off the claim. Comes in from Kentucky Downs.
Yep, half to McCracken. This horse spent a lot of time with Ian Wilkes. Now he's with Mike Maker. He got that inside-out trip at Kentucky Downs. I don't think that's where he wanted to be.
Here's the one I like in here, Lucky Ramsey. Again, he chased Siding Spring last start, his first start in a long time.
Lucky Ramsey ran well last time, first off a 281-day layoff. I will be rooting like heck for this one for the General.
Been first or second in 13 of his 25 starts on turf. Here's Tusk, Jorge Navarro, Kendrick Carmouche, should be showing speed. Looks like he could be the quickest in the group.
Could be the quickest, and if he's not the quickest, Kendrick will ensure that he is. I think Kendrick will put this one on the front end. Navarro's horses like to be forwardly placed.
Joel Rosario on Local Hero, 7-1 taking play, down from a 15-1 morning line.
He should have won both of his mile attempts when Mike Maker had him. Mike Maker's other horse beat him. This horse could run better in here.
Hieroglyphics, Kieran McLaughlin, third off a lengthy layoff.
Once a stakes horse, you don't always see Kieran down here in these ranks with these types of horses. The switch to Johnny could kind of give this horse a new outlook. Johnny was on him back in the day. He could run better as well.
Yeah, and he was right there with Siding Spring for Hieroglyphics. That was his first start in almost a year. And here is Siding Spring, 4-1. The other Mike Maker runner, second off the claim with Manny Franco.
the public is some of the best horse players and handicappers out there, and this horse has been bet a lot in his last 2. I'm concerned that he's not protected in here, but he's got every right to run well for Mike Maker and our meet's leading rider in Manny Franco.
4 minutes to post. You're in our 7th coming up as we get another look here at Lucky Ramsey. Son of looking at Lucky. He's just shy of $300,000 in earnings in his career as he makes his 2nd start off the bench in a rematch with Siding Spring as we head trackside to Maggie.
Thanks, Greg. And I know you guys are freezing up there on set, but the horse type of freezing was kind of going on with number 2, Harv Won't Tap, as he didn't want to walk out with Irad Ortiz aboard. But I want to talk about the other Dave Canizzo runner in here. Now, I am piggybacking because I watch our simulcast show Talking Horses, and David Aragona of Timeform US made a pretty legitimate case for Local Hero, as I will kind of paraphrase what he said about this horse. If you look back at his races that are more so at this distance, they're quite competitive here. The mile and the mile and a 16th efforts, and then when they've tried a mile and a half 2 starts ago, they tried a mile and 3/8, and then they ran him 6.5 on the dirt behind Build to Suit, who came back and won our Hudson yesterday. And so if you can forgive him and just focus in on those few efforts at this kind of distance, surface / condition, he makes a lot of sense here. And boy, did he look fantastic in the paddock. If anything, he's put on more weight since what I've seen him in past efforts. And I like what I'm just seeing from him in the overall sense. And I thought there were some reasons to like him, which David pointed out, and even more so, it was complemented by what I saw in the paddock. And JK, you were talking about the general. Well, he made himself known in the paddock, that's for sure. He said, if my horse runs as good as I look, then we'll probably run last. So I don't know, is that a general thing?
Hey, I tell you what, the general is a handsome, strapping man. Don't let him lie to you. He's I owe him one. He bought me dinner in Saratoga, so I'm rooting for him.
There's his horse. Oh, you are going with him in here.
Oh, I couldn't pick against the general. No, I mean handicapping for handicapping reasons. Like I said, 281-day layoff. The horse ran well first time back. Now he should be tighter here. And a horse at 7-2 in Siding Spring, he was running at late. So there's a lot of reasons this horse should run better.
I think a lot of upside with this horse, and I think also a lot of upside with Hieroglyphics. Wouldn't you say? 3rd off the bench. Horse was, he was 3/4 of a length behind Siding Spring in his first race in 11 months. The Parks race, I'm willing to say, a little give in that ground. Maybe he didn't like it.
If he didn't like that, he might not like the give we have now. I mean, we're still listed as firm, but there was some rain. I was standing in it. You could probably tell the curls are probably a little bit messed up on the fro right now.
No, you look great.
Thank you, Wolfie.
So Lucky Ramsey 5-1. This is a great betting race. Are you surprised, or do you think Siding Spring deserved to be this price and favored in here?
No, I think he deserves to be favored in here. I think that there's, like I said, you could follow the money. He was bet his last 2, and a lot of times the public will stick with a horse like that. And so the fact that he was bet the last 2 times, I think says a lot. He's going to have to run better than he did last time. He's going to need to race probably 2 back, I think. But like I said, maybe Maker figured something out about him and figured something out about how he wants to be trained, equipment, maybe different instructions for Manny. So I think the horse can run better. I just don't love the 3-1 to try to answer those questions.
Meanwhile, Morrison from the rail for a while, that one horse, he was actually favored for a bit. He was all the way down to 5-2 from an 8-1 morning line. He's 4-1 right now as he steps in, but another horse who is being given a shot in here in a contender for Joe Sharp, Luis Saez. I wonder how aggressive Saez is here from the inside.
Well, I think Louis is going to always kind of err on the side of being aggressive and down on the inside. You'd think he kind of pop away from there, get his position moving forward, and end up possibly getting a really good trip. On form alone, though, I'm not crazy about Morrison.
Late pick 4. It starts here. The 10, Siding Spring. 5-2 favorite with a meets leading rider. There he is stepping in line. Let's send it upstairs to the voice of New York Racing for the call. Here's Larry Colmus.
They're all in line. They're off. And it is Tusk who comes out running on the lead. Siding Spring on the outside, and Hieroglyphics came out third behind them. Morrison tucks in fourth at the rail. After that, it's Lucky Ramsey, followed by Bondurant, and a break of another two back to Harv Won't Tap and Local Hero. Up the backstretch, Tusk on the inside of Siding Spring. These two vie for early command here as they run by this opening quarter mile up the backstretch in 23.58 seconds. Break of another two to Morrissey on the inside of Hieroglyphics. Lucky Ramsey fifth. Bondurant is sixth on the inside and sixth from the front. Then Local Hero and Harv Won't Tap is 11 lengths off of front-running Tusk, who's got 3/4 of a length to the good of Siding Spring, racing for the far turn. And then it's Morrison third on the inside of Hieroglyphics in fourth. Break of another 2 lengths to Lucky Ramsey on the outside of Bondurant after a 47.03 half mile. Then Local Hero and Harv Won't Tap on the inside. Around the far turn, Tusk now a full length and a half in front. And then it's Siding Spring in second. Hieroglyphics is a wide third. Morrison comes under a drive fourth on the inside's got to keep up. Then it's Lucky Ramsey and Bondurant, and they're into the stretch. 3/4 in 110.8. And it is Tusk in front. The leader by 2 to Siding Spring and Hieroglyphics. Lucky Ramsey is fourth on the outside. Tusk reaching for another furlong here. Still a 2-length lead. Hieroglyphics, the only one with a shot to get him. Then Siding Spring and Lucky Ramsey. It is going to be Tusk. And Hieroglyphics, second best under the wire. Then Siding Spring and Lucky Ramsey.
Kendrick Carmouche, he is so good on the front end. He goes gate to wire for a Jorge Navarro on Tusk.
Yeah, the horse got out of there quickly, got to the front, had to deal with Siding Spring sitting right off the side of him, but he put Siding Spring away. And look, being on the front end in turf racing here in Belmont and pretty much anywhere in the country is exactly where you want to be. Less things can happen. You don't have to be dependent on pace or, getting a good trip. This horse saved ground, went to the front, and extended his position in the lane.
7-2 in the end on Tusk. Hieroglyphics making a run, but to no avail. And for Lucky Ramsey, he had to go a little bit wide in here. Finishes 7-9-10-4. But Kendrick Carmouche, great job getting out to the front and going gate to wire for the score here. So to tap it with the win for Jorge Navarro. Again, now wins for the 6th time on turf in his career. 7-2, and you beat a 5-2 favorite.
There's nothing wrong with beating a favorite when you're playing the multi-race bets. Look, when you can get out to the front end, I can't stress it enough. I've actually encouraged owners, find fast turf horses and run them on the East Coast on the front end, because a lot of times these races don't have pace. And they ran a little bit here. That's 110 is pretty quick in these conditions with a little bit of moisture in the track, and it's kind of coming down a little bit more now, but he just kept running.
So Tusk with the win at 7-2. Prices from this one when we come back. We'll set up the 8th when we return, and the $1.2 million filly making her debut, the daughter of Triple Crown champion American Pharoah, hits the track. Orsay next in the 8th at Belmont.
Run Happy is simply super. He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu.
No medication, no problem. Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Back on America's Day at the races. Greg Wolf, Jonathan Kinchin, Maggie Wolfendale with you. It's Tusk. Kendra Carmouche puts his 6-year-old son a Tappet on the front end and goes gate to wire for the win.
Went right out there to the front, took it to the other favorite, the horse that was being bet here in Siding Spring, and put him away and held off Hieroglyphics.
7, 9, 10 in that 7th at Belmont. And we have a highly anticipated debut coming up next. We'll talk about Orsay in a moment. $1.2 million daughter of Triple Crown champ American Pharaoh. We're going to revisit some of the big races from yesterday. The Empire Classic, Mr. Buff back doing his thing. He has been so devastating at a 1.8 mile distance, and he does it again.
No, he was phenomenal yesterday. He had to deal with Pat on the back, who was coming in off the Kelso win. Mr. Buff didn't mess around. He moved early with Junior Alvarado on the backside, right about the half-mile pole, got up into a hole on a rail that was pretty good on the inside. Didn't switch leads, didn't need to. He just kept going, big, rangy horse, gets it done in the Empire Classic.
And John Kimmel's done a tremendous job with this horse. A big guy, 17.2 hands. And when he's anywhere close to the front, he's just so dangerous. And I'll look back there, and yeah, this victory in hand. So Mr. Buff, they thought they were going to be in for a battle of these connections with Pat on the back coming in off that Grade 2 win in the Kelso. He would have been in the form of his life as well, but it's Mr. Buff who gets the job done in the Empire Classic. Meanwhile, Fillies and Mares in the Empire Distaff, newly minted, had never lost on dirt. She was 4 for 4 for Linda Rice, but Radikowski connections have had to been so patient with his 5-year-old. We didn't see her debut until the beginning of this year. Back in May, and she has been very impressive now, reeling off 3 wins in a row.
This race gave me a nice handicapping reminder that there's a difference between a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old on the racetrack. And newly minted, although she was spectacular in her 4 dirt wins, she ran into a 5-year-old that meant business yesterday and a rider in Jose Ortiz who rode lights out yesterday as well.
Yeah, this was one of Jose's 4 wins on the afternoon. He said a couple more jumps, I might have got caught, but there was enough in the tank to get the job done. And the Empire Distaff and Radikowski, very impressive. Again, 3 consecutive victories now, and we'll see if she tackles open company next time out after that performance. As you take a look at a recap from all the day's winners, and you see Jose Ortiz taking the Iroquois Paws for the Cause, Sleepy Hollow on Captain Bombastic for Jeremiah Engelhardt. It was so good in the 2-year-old races, taking both of them with the Fillies and the Colts, and then winning with Radikowski as well.
I think we saw a couple of New York breds. They're going to be knocking on the door of open company in their next start. Build a Suit maybe to be one of them. 55 obviously has shown that she'll bump heads with those. And Critical Value for 10 Strike and Jeremiah Engelhardt, who won earlier in the card, 2-year-old filly. I think she's could start knocking on the door as well.
Yeah, made of the missed winner for Jeremiah Engelhardt, and he was completed the exacta, by the way, as well in the Sleepy Hollow. So quite a day for Jeremiah with the 2-year-olds. Up next, 2-year-old fillies in this 8th, and Orsay, all eyes on her. Been waiting a little while for this debut. Daughter of Triple Crown champ American Pharaoh, $1.2 million at auction for OXO Equine and trainer Chad Brown.
She's 3 to 5. You mentioned Jeremiah Engelhardt. If you're allergic to 3 to 5 shots, the 4 Summer Fortune, another 2-year-old filly for Jeremiah Engelhardt. But Orsay obviously is the center of attention here. Regally bred. She almost ran up at Saratoga, got loose in that race and had to be scratched. Hopefully that doesn't happen here today. She's 3 to 5.
Well, we've been waiting. Word has been out about this filly. Whenever you go for that kind of purchase price at auction, going to be highly anticipated to see the debut. Her daddy, of course, American Pharaoh.
With 1/8 of a mile to go, American Pharaoh's got a 2-length lead. Frosted is all out at the 16th pole. And here it is. The 37-year wait is over. American Pharaoh is finally the one. American Pharaoh has won the Triple Crown.
He was brilliant, ended that 37-year drought in the Triple Crown. Thought it couldn't be done. He was special. And right now, he is your number 2 first crop sire, 2nd in overall earnings, and number 1 actually in wins among first crop sires with 16 winners. They've been winning on turf, on dirt, been doing everything.
I'll tell you what, listening to that call still gives me goosebumps. I was sitting right up there about 20, 30 feet from here, and that room was absolutely shaking when he was coming down the stretch.
I was in the winner's circle watching it happen. I have never been at any sporting event in my life and heard a crowd like that. It was tremendous.
Yeah, it was something special.
We'll see if Orsay can follow in the footsteps of her Triple Crown winning daddy, American Pharoah. This will be the debut coming up, and she's been working very strong in the morning. So right now on the board at 3-5. So she's by American Pharoah out of a Malibu Moon mare. Life at 10 was pretty special herself.
Yeah, not just any Malibu Moon mare. Like you said, Life of 10, she was something else. Awesome race mare for Todd Pletcher. She was brilliant here on this racetrack. When we say regally bred, sometimes you try to take the best and match them up with the best and hope for the best. Doesn't always work out, but apparently this filly is something to look at to go for $1.2 million. And the way that, like you mentioned a few moments ago, she's been training, I would think she's well met in here.
Now, Life at 10, multiple Group 1 winner, and yes, she was pretty good in New York as well. Ogden Phipps, Belle Dame winner. So, all indications through the bloodlines, Orsay, expected to be awfully good. And we're going to get a first look at her here coming up in a moment as we send it down to the paddock with Maggie Wolfendale.
And we'll begin, as you said, Greg, with Orsay here as she will make her debut, hopefully, this time around, as she was a late scratch when she tried to do so up at Saratoga after dropping Irad Ortiz back on September 1st. Entered in a 7-furlong maiden special weight that day. And look, she actually looks a bit more fit than what she did going back to then, so that's always a good sign. The 6.5, it's probably the only thing that bothers me a little bit here because she does present herself, at least physically, as a filly who may want a bit more ground, and obviously with that pedigree, that would say so too. But the works, on the other hand, which are quite quick, at least of in the last few, would say that maybe this will be a-okay. She is very calm here in the paddock so far. She really hasn't done anything wrong, but obviously want to keep a close eye on her as she did misbehave out in the racetrack on her intended first race back at Saratoga. Now moving on to other first-time starters, as there's only one who has run in here. Number 2, Bells of War. This one from Mike Trombetta comes up from Fair Hill, kind of, at least as of now, relatively speaking, taking a little bit of play, because Mike can be very good with his first-time starters, but not impressing me here in the paddock. She is tiny. She is petite as they come. I mean, she's lucky to be 15 hands, I would think, and very short coupled, built downhill. 6.5 might be a stretch for her, as we'll also take a look at number 4, Summer Fortune. As Jonathan kind of indicated, she's probably your best alternative to Orsay in here, because it's Jeremiah Englehart who's just been sensational, especially in the last 2 years with his 2-year-olds and the fillies to boot. And she looks like a true dirt sprinter, but there's a little bit of size with her. She is wearing blinkers first time out. She's really well conditioned heading in here, really well muscled behind the saddle, huge hindquarters on her. She's giving me every indication that she should be quick away from the stalls, as she does wear blinkers first time out. Was a little bit green at times so far here in the paddock, so we'll keep an eye on her. Now number 5 is interesting. Barista Vixen was actually entered here on Thursday when we canceled in a mile turf event. Now, going back, the dam is actually half to Channel Maker and Johnny Bear, obviously both of which, in the former, being very, very good turf horses. But now she's entered back in today in a 6.5 dirt sprint. I can't say she looks overly turf, at least foot-wise, but she's a big, good-looking filly. I mean, she looks older than any of her foes in here, obviously not being that much older, but I love what I'm seeing from her. I'm very intrigued with the change of conditions as she'll try the 6.5 as opposed to the mile here, as we are preparing with 14 minutes to go here to today's Ace. Stay tuned. We are going to be joined by MSG Plus.
Eclipse champion Blaine was considered by many as the breakout stallion of 2018. His top runners included Grade 1 winner and Eclipse Award finalist Marley's Freedom, plus Grade 1 winner Fault, and graded stakes winners Mare, Beyond Blaine, Miss Kentucky, and Blaine. This year, his 2-year-olds have sold up to $700,000. Outstanding results, outstanding value. Blaine, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
I'm a firm believer you don't put the saddle on the pedigree. I bought him strictly because of his physique, his conformation. And then when you looked at the pedigree, it was the perfect blend. Run Happy was an incredible, incredible racehorse, being supported by Airdrie Stud, who raises an incredible animal. To breed one of their best mares to him speaks volumes. It ended up producing an incredible result in this horse, and we just hope he runs to his looks and his pedigree.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
That time at Oaklawn, when a home run made for a big night. Bet on your favorite teams at Oaklawn's new race and sports book. Oaklawn, a new level of action, a new level of excitement.
The thermal spring waters our city is named after are known for their legendary healing properties. Their thirst-quenching properties are pretty nice, too. Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's different here. Come see why.
Yeah.
Welcome to America's Day at the Races. Those watching on Fox Sports 2 and those who've just joined us on MSG Plus. Good to have you with us. Our show brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Sunday afternoon card. As we get to the 8th race here coming up in a moment, Greg Wolf alongside former champion jockey Richard Migliori, 2015 NHC Tour champion, Jonathan Kinchin, and we're going to get to see a highly anticipated debut of a $1.2 million daughter of Triple Crown champ American Pharoah coming up.
I'm excited about it, and I have a personal relationship. I rode Life at 10, her mother, to her first stake victory. Was supposed to ride her back in the 60 sales in Chicago, but then I was diagnosed with 6 broken vertebrae in my neck, and I asked the doctor, I said, Doc, I've been riding anyway. Let me go ride her. She's easy to ride. I'll put her on the lead, and then I'll come back and you can do the surgery. He didn't let me leave the hospital.
Johnny sent you a thank you card?
No, actually, you know, Michael Bays rode her that day. Johnny picked her up after that. Yeah.
How about that? Well, we're going to see. We're saying right now 3-5 on the board as she gets set to make her debut. We'll go through this entire field. Coming up in just a moment, track still listed as fast, turf court still listed as firm, but we've been getting kind of a slow and steady rain throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit stronger now, but it's been almost, you know, so light that I don't think it is affecting the surfaces yet, but it is starting to come down steadier and a little harder.
Here's what we have still ahead. Races 8 through 10 on the card, including our ABR race of the week. Grade 3 Athenia, and that'll be at a mile and a 16th over the inner turf coming up. And Jonathan Kinchin's best bet of the afternoon still to come in that race, which we'll get to in a little bit. Right now it's the 8th, maiden special weight. 6.5 furlongs in Orsay, the daughter of American Pharoah, the Triple Crown champion. 3-5 in here, and the works in the morning say this one right here could be very good.
Very nice works. Chad Brown's not a guy who has to work his horses fast to see what they're made of. I remember this filly selling at the Fasig-Tipton sale in Saratoga, and she had the look then. She certainly has the pedigree. She's got the right connections. I mean, looks formidable for a first-time starter.
Meg, you're the closest thing I've seen to a walking racing encyclopedia, so I'm going to put you on the spot with this question. But so often you see these great stallions with great mares. They don't always pan out. Can you give us an idea of some that actually have? panned out where they had the mother was a champion or a really successful Grade 1 winner and then the father as well?
Very few, actually. You know, the family that comes to mind is Personal Ensign, who, you know, threw champions, who produced champions as well. But if you think back over the years, historically, some of the greatest fillies and mares that just did not produce. I mean, you know, you can go back to Genuine Risk and Lady Secret and Winning Colors. I mean, these were big, tough fillies and mares, Derby winners, and they just never produced runners. And I don't know if it's because they left it all out there on the racetrack.
We're 8 minutes from a start. Let's get a Paddock report and head downstairs, check in with Maggie Wolfendale.
It's funny you say that, Mick, because the only one I can think of in recent time that actually produced some decent horses was Rachel Alexander, which kind of surprised me because she, for that 3-year-old campaign, really did leave it out on the racetrack. I wonder, too, sometimes if those good race mares, if they're just a little bit too masculine to really be good dams, as we will check out Orsay in here. Now, she was a late scratch back in Saratoga on September 1st because she dropped Irad Ortiz in the post parade, and so far she hasn't done anything too badly. She did get a little bit hesitant when they put the saddle on, and she kind of came out, and she's kind of has a bit of a hump in her back, and that kind of usually indicates a horse who's a little bit cold back, a little bit girthy. So they're actually going to get on her outside the stall here. You can see she's a little bit of a sensitive type as far as I can work out observing her. As we'll move over here, she's incredibly fit. She's actually more fit than what I saw back on September 1st. So hopefully she behaves herself. As you can see, yeah, she's just a very cold-backed horse as far as I can work out, and very kind of sensitive on her sides, and Irad's going to give her a pat, and hopefully he can get on her from here. Like I said, the 6.5 furlongs, it might be a little bit on the shorter side for her, but we'll see. If she's good enough, she should be able to win here. The other horse I'm very interested in is number 5. That is Barista Vixen, who was actually entered to run here on the day we canceled this week on Thursday in a mild turf event. The dams actually have to Channel Maker and Johnny Bear, but the dam herself was a very good dirt horse. She is actually the most impressive horse in here, just purely on physical looks. She's big, she's beautiful, she's well balanced, she's fit. As I send it back to you, we do see Orsay accompanied by Papa Tom and the Outrider pony, and Irad was able to get on her here, so hopefully they stay together this time around.
All right, so thank you, Maggie. It seems to have calmed down for the moment, Orsay, with the Outrider pony.
Very sensitive filly. Any quick movement around her she was reacting to. You could see how quietly he had to get aboard her, and even the way he was trying to tie his knot, stay very quiet on her.
Get signed up, play along. You can bet this race and all the racing we show you all meet long and beyond with Naira Bets, $200 new member bonus when you use that promo code live at sign up. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime with NairaBets.com. We start things off with Princess Pau, daughter of Sky Kingdom, for Michelle Nevin.
Filly that comes in with a very consistent work tab. I don't look at times, Jonathan. I look at spacing between works, and she's been very consistent. I think she's interesting.
Bells of War, Declaration of War, first-time starter for Michael Trombetta.
She's a half to one of my favorite named horses out there in training right now, Harvey Wallbanger, who won the Holy Bull earlier this year.
Yeah, for, I want to say, Kenny McPeak.
You're right.
Fashion Rules, 4-1 by the leading first crop sire, Constitution.
Constitution's been white hot with his first crop. This is a Shug McGahee horse. They get better with racing, and she broke slowly first time. Look for an improved effort.
Constitution, of course, is produced Tis the Law, among others. Here's Summer Fortune, first time out, Jeremiah Engelhardt, and Daughter of Violence.
You said daughter. That's the key word. His 2-year-old fillies have been really good this year,
including a win in the Maid of the Mist yesterday. Barista Vixen, Algorithms filly for Bill Mott.
Yeah, left the pony, got a nice kind of buck out of her and good gallop off, and Bill Mott needs no introduction. Not usually hot with firsts, but this year.
3-5 on Orsay. Chad Brown, OXO, and the American Pharaoh filly.
I tell you, I don't really know what I'm looking at when it comes to horse flesh, but she doesn't seem like she's enjoying what's happening today. And at 3-5, I would try to beat her here.
She's an excitable youngster, that's for sure.
16-1 outside, Shug McGahee sending out a Broken Valve filly, Undine.
And it always seems like, and she's a little bit green with the pony, you can see, and the best thing there, turn her loose, let her get away. Just showing a little bit of that greenness, and the strap came off of her there from the pony boy. But it's interesting. When Shug likes one, he kind of reaches out to Joelle. So, I mean, this filly looks a bit green to me, and maybe she'll need a race, but I bet there's quality there.
And, look, we're seeing these are a lot of debuters in here with the exception of the 3 Fashion Rules, but we're seeing some greenness already.
Look, with Orsay here's a lot of things that, you know, she wasn't happy last time at Saratoga when she dropped Irad. She wasn't easy to saddle, easy to get Irad aboard to get a leg up. She wasn't happy with the pony. And if she doesn't break on top, she's going to eat a lot of dirt, getting a lot of this kind of sloppy kickback. Mig, I would imagine that an excitable horse like this wouldn't enjoy that.
No, I mean, she's a very sensitive filly. You can see she has big reactions. So if she was to get hit with kickback, you'd have to think you'd get another big reaction out of her, which would mean her head would come up, she would drop back, she'd be climbing. She's obviously very talented, but it looks like she's a bit of a handful because everything they do with her, they've got to do extremely quiet. Now, what if somebody else acts up in the starting gate? That could set her up. There's a million things for a flighty kind of horse like that.
3 minutes to post here in the 8th. Next weekend, Maximum Security. Cross the wire first, only to be DQ'd in the Kentucky Derby. Would go on to win the Haskell Invitational. Back in action, his 3-year-old campaign not done yet. Going to use the Bold Ruler as a stepping stone to the Cigar Mile.
Kind of interesting. I mean, he did show sprint speed when he broke his maiden, right? 7/8. He was very fast. It'll be interesting to see how he handles that. And he's coming off an illness, and you never really know how they're going to handle coming off an illness if they're going to really find their form.
Yeah, it's a curious spot. His best performances were the 1 1/8, and obviously the 1 1/4 Kentucky Derby, even though he was disqualified there. And it's not the most confident of moves, right? I mean, obviously, what he's still alive for, they could have gone to the Breeders' Cup. Obviously, a Cigar Mile win could still help him stamp his championship 3-year-old year, depending on what some of the others do.
And we're going to have it live here on the show next weekend, so we hope you join us for the Bold Ruler, Maximum Security, back in action. I mean, that would have been asking a lot, I think, trying to make the Breeders' Cup, wouldn't it?
Oh, I think so, especially coming off an illness. And I guess the plan is if none of the 3-year-olds perform huge on Breeders' Cup Day that have a say in this championship, and he was to come back and win the Cigar Mile, that would elevate his chances. I mean, he would, sport another Grade 1 victory, a Grade 1 victory over older horses. And Code of Honor is the only one that has that distinction at this moment, albeit by disqualification. So I think it was definitely thought out, hoping to be able to pull out a championship.
We'll see. A lot left to transpire in terms of who's going to be your top 3-year-old as we check in with Maggie and get her thoughts.
Yeah, looking at Maximum Security, it's actually shaping up to be an okay field. They are getting horses, but he'll definitely be the talk of the town as he is training here at Belmont. Looking forward to seeing him, and I think I'm okay with him getting back to the 7 furlongs. But let's take a look at number 1 in here. That is Princess Pow, who's not taking much money. And I kind of figured that because Michelle Nevin's really not known to fire with her first-time starters. Out of a sire we're not familiar with, he was better going longer and on the synthetic as well as the main track. But the Dam's a multiple stakes winner going longer. The sister, Torrent, actually trained by Ron Moquette, she was good at sprints to kind of a mile. So she kind of has that same physical makeup as her sister, to be honest. She's solid. She's kind of versatilely built, but looks like she needs a start. Now, the only one that has a start is number 3, Fashion Rules, who got away very slowly down at Laurel. It was not a good field, but it was wired that day by Ilchester Cheetah. And she was kind of making up a little bit of ground. She's by Constitution, who's gotten off to a flyer with his freshman crop. She might went a little bit further than this, guys. But at least she has the experience, and she's been pretty professional so far. I'm going to take a little bit of a shot. I don't like that number 5, Barista Vixen, was entered in a mile turf event on Thursday, and she shows up here in a dirt sprint. I just couldn't get over how good she looked. Greg?
All right, Maggie, thanks. Loading up right here. And here's the only one with experience in the group by a Hall of Fame trainer, by the leading first crop sire in the game right now.
And you got to think she's going to improve off of that start. She knows what kickback is because she broke slow. She had to eat dirt, come running, and experience definitely counts in the hot first crop sire.
I picked the 6 this morning, but I just did a Peyton Manning Omaha and changed to the 4 just based on the way Orsay's been kind of getting around here since she got into the paddock.
All eyes on the daughter of American Pharoah. There she is, still acting a little skittish. She backs out of the gate right there in those red and white silks. Irad Ortiz Jr. stays calm. She steps in. Can she get it done in her debut? Let's send it upstairs to the voice of horse racing's Triple Crown for the call. He called American Pharoah's Triple Crown win, Larry Colmus.
Undine going in. And they're all in line. They're off. Summer Fortune shoots out of the gate to the front. With Bells of War away in second, Orsay is third on the outside. And then it's Barista Vixen away running in fourth. Followed by Princess Pow, Undine, and at the back of the pack is Fashion Rules. So up the backstretch they go. Summer Fortune, the leader by 2. Orsay is second as Barista Vixen goes up on the outside and grabs third. About 5 lengths, now 6 lengths off the lead through a 22.94 quarter. Really starting to scatter on the far turn. And then it's Princess Pow fourth on the inside, but a good 10 lengths off the lead. Then it's Bells of War, followed by Undine, and 5 lengths back to Fashion Rules as they make their way around the far turn. Summer Fortune motoring along here, and Orsay is in pursuit. And they're 8 lengths ahead of the rest after a 46.29 half. They're into the stretch, and it is Summer Fortune in front by a length and a half. Orsay is second. 6 lengths back to Barista Vixen in third. Coming down to the 8th pole, and Summer Fortune has opened up a 4-length lead on Orsay. Then comes Barista Vixen on the outside, who's closing late into second position. Summer Fortune, Barista Vixen, Summer Fortune. All the way by a length and a half. And then it was Barista Vixen. Orsay ends up third, and then Undine.
It just continues. Jeremiah Engelhardt, the magic touch, especially with the 2-year-old fillies. He swept the 2-year-old stakes on Empire Showcase Day. He wins here with a first-timer, 2-year-old filly by Violence.
They're so well schooled, Jonathan. You see the way she sprung out of the gate? And I guess I got to give you props for that call. And between you and Maggie, there's the exact thing. It pays to watch America's Day at the races.
Look, normally I got a nickname at the racetrack. Sometimes they call me Dusty. I enjoy the chalk. But I just couldn't get over the fact that Orsay still seems like she's got a lot to learn about this game, and I'd imagine she will. There could be a surface change for her, a distance change, or maybe just kind of getting through an experience will be enough for her to kind of move forward.
Impressive first time out. And what a job Jeremiah Engelhardt has done all spring and summer long with his 2-year-olds, but especially the 2-year-old fillies.
The scary part about it is you know, this is kind of his coming out 2-year-old party for Jeremiah. When now after this year, he's going to start getting a lot more talented, a lot more, you know, quality. And next year at Saratoga, he's going to be dangerous. I'd bet he wins more 2-year-old races next year than any other trainer based on the performance he's had this year with the 2-year-olds.
Success breeds success.
Does it again. Summer Fortune, impressive first time out and into the winner's circle at 4-1. 4, 5, 6, 7. The daughter of Triple Crown champ, American Pharoah, winds up third in her debut. Our feature next.
Warfront. This son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires. With Grade 1 winners on dirt and turf and star performers both at home and abroad, Warfront's success as an international super sire is unmatched. Recent Grade 1 winners include Omaha Beach and Preakness Stakes hero War of Will. In the sales ring, his $2.4 million sale topper at Keeneland September was the highest price yearling sold in North America last year. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one of a kind, high speed, high stakes action. And Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Coming on strong.
Minute to stardom. On top, coming down to the final 16th. Opening up a 2-length lead.
My love for you.
Wild About Star, shining big here in Berry 1.
Oh, why did I wrong?
Testing 1, 2. The Star Guitar filly leads Champagne Diva close to home. It's testing 1, 2.
Feel my love for you. Coming on strong.
Back on America's Day at the Races, Junior Alvarado, Jeremiah Engelhardt, Fortune Farm. First timer by Violence, and the trend continues. This barn continuing to send out youngsters to get it done, especially first time out. Jeremiah Engelhardt again swept the 2-year-old stakes yesterday, Empire Showcase Day, and impressive here again.
You know, to have ability and then to be that professional and the way she sprung out of the gate, they're doing a really strong job having these horses ready to race first time out.
Here's a look at the late pick 5, how it's played out. $162,000 in the pool. Dream Passage, most I would say probably had in there. Kendrick Carmouche took Tusk Gate to Wire, paid $940. These prices are slowly and steadily getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, the thing about this, though, is that $940 on Tusk is probably going to pay better than that in the multis because that was a very difficult race. People probably spread a lot in there. And then the $1060 that you got on Summer Fortune, man, you're probably getting, you know, 2 times that by beating the horse that's probably the most singled horse on the entire card.
Beat a 3-5 favorite. It's going to play a lot bigger than 4-1. Our ABR race of the week. It's the Grade 3 Athenia coming up next. Mile and a 16th on the inner turf. And wow, right now we're going to see 4-5 on Simply Breathless coming in from Neil Drysdale out of Kentucky Downs. Had a Grade 3 win out on the West Coast in the Wilshire in the 2nd state start of her career.
4-5 is simply silly on that horse. I don't see that. And looking at the will pays, she's going to go off pretty short. She will go off favored.
All right, we'll talk more about this group coming up. We're continuing to look at championship weekend. All the big races coming up, less than 2 weeks away now. And in the Filly and Mare Sprints, take a look at the contenders. Certainly one of them we saw here, and we've gotten to see quite a bit of Come Dancing, but she has had some issues of late getting out of the gate.
And that could be problematic. You worry about that. You don't want to be giving anybody a head start or run the risk of getting squeezed between horses and losing position. One thing about it, she is super talented.
Let's take a look at her most recent work. Coming off that victory in the Gallant Bloom. And what do you want to see? I mean, obviously, she's been in great form just about all year long.
She has been in great form. This work, I've never seen a work like this on the training track as long as I've been, here at Belmont Park, 40 years. I've never seen a horse. She's going 3/4 and 10. Basically went 5/8 and 56 and change. Look at her ears are up. I mean, that's an incredible workout. I've never seen a horse work that fast on the training track. And, she's trained by Carlos Martin. He's certainly got the pedigree to be a world-class trainer, which he is. His grandfather's in the Hall of Fame, Frank Pancho Martin. You can make an argument his dad, Jose Martin, should be in the Hall of Fame, the champions he trained, including Groovy. And Carlos has, certainly carried on the family legacy in a very strong way. And I hope she breaks clean in the Breeders' Cup because I think that's the thing you have to worry most about.
I'm a little bit concerned just about what the Filly and Mare Sprint has been the last few years. Bar of Gold was a huge price. And then, last year we had a huge price as well. And I think the reason that happens is because a lot of times we fall in love with these horses going 6 furlongs. And we oh, they're so good. And then the pace really heats up. And then they're going 7. And all of a sudden, someone comes running from out of it at a big price. I like Come Dancing, but I will be using some long shots.
Look, she hasn't just had problems out of the gate the last few starts. She also veered in the stretch a little bit in that last start.
She does have a propensity to want to lug in a little bit. It just seems like it's a natural habit for her. I'm more concerned about the breaking out of the gate, particularly in a big field, a big bulky field. You just don't want to be at a disadvantage right off the break. But I honestly, and I hear what you're saying about the distance, but I think 7/8 is her perfect distance.
No, I think it works great for her. I just worry that sometimes the rate can kind of speed up. The paces are a little bit faster. I do hope that she draws outside. I think that would probably be better for her.
Yep. Our Kentucky Oaks champion going to cross enter for our colleague Tom Amos, and they are leaning Distaff, but depends how things play out, how much speed's going to be in the race with that final decision. And she gave Kofefe all she could handle in the test this summer at Saratoga. Had those post positions been switched, it might have been a different outcome.
Yeah, Kofefe was good here. Very game, rated kindly for this race, and got it done. These are 2 really good fillies.
Our guy Tom Amos couldn't catch a break up at Saratoga. Kept drawing down on the inside. I agree with you, Wolfie. If that post positions would have been flipped, I think she would have run a lot better. And look, I understand the idea of possibly looking at the distaff for her. She's run really well at a mile and an eighth, obviously one of her biggest wins in the Kentucky Oaks. She's got some pace. She could be out there on the front end. California racing, speed that usually does pretty well. And so I understand why they're considering that spot for her.
She is lightning quick. Yeah, we'll wait and see what that decision is. By the way, get well soon to our colleague Tom Amos. Had appendix surgery, so we hope he's doing A-okay.
He'll be at the Breeders' Cup.
He will. Nothing will keep him from the Breeders' Cup.
I think
we know
he's
that.
watching us right now?
Could be. Hi, Tom. We miss you. She's been so much fun to watch. And again, she's lightning quick. You know what's interesting, too? If Guarana winds up going in that race, I mean, how brilliant was she in the Mile Acorn?
Yeah,
second start of her career.
I completely agree. The way she ran in the Acorn, that cut back to the 7 furlongs, has a, and cutting back from the cotillion, she could be extremely dangerous in this spot because she showed it early in this year to be the most talented 3-year-old that we had seen. She just kind of went the wrong direction in the cotillion, but I give her a pass on that. I think she'll run much better if she shows up in the Breeders' Cup.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Our ABR Race of the Week, our feature, the Grade 3 Athenia, coming up next. We'll have a lot more on this field when we return here on America's Day at the Races on Fox Sports 2 and MSG+.
It's been home to some of the sport's biggest moments, monumental achievements, and extraordinary records. At Santa Anita, we'll set another before the first gate even opens, as the Breeders' Cup returns for a record 10th time. This November, the stars will shine. Champions will be crowned. And when the unbelievable happens, you'll want to be there to see it. The Breeders' Cup World Championships.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Run Happy was a really nice racehorse. The biggest attribute that I see about him is the way he stamps his foals. You know, they got big, pretty walks on them. They got good hips and shoulders. Very pretty to look at. And, you know, the real strong hind leg. You know, everything that you're looking for as a racehorse. You know, that's what impresses me.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
12 categories covering the best of the sport and lifestyle, all decided by the fans. It's the America's Best Racing Fan Choice Awards.
Back on America's Day at the Races, ABR Fan Choice Awards. They'll be hosted in part by our own Paula Duca. You can make your voice heard and place your votes November 6th through the 20th on all those categories.
Pretty cool. Who's going to get Trainer of the Year?
That's not on there. Best jockey,
best trainer.
Was trainer there?
Yeah, best trainer.
Did it really?
Oh.
It said best trainer.
Okay.
Right
Tom
under
Amos.
jockey. Yeah, what about Mark Cassie? He won
No,
2/3
see
of the
trainer.
Triple Crown.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
It's on.
best trainer.
Yeah, we'll go Tom
Best
Amos.
race, there's a lot. I mean, just from Saratoga, there's a lot to go
Midnight
off
Bezo
of.
in a late.
That was
That'd be
special.
it for me.
Yeah, that was special.
Best racetrack food.
Better than Chancelot
Oh,
in
yeah.
Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Food, I'm going the chicken sandwich with no tomato at the Shake Shack. Add bacon.
Specifically no tomato.
Add bacon. Add bacon if you're feeling frisky.
Well, here's a look at, wow, now 3-5 on Simply Breathless. Again, she came to the state. She won her first 2 starts at Golden Gate, then Grade 3 Wilshire at Santa Anita, and beat a 10-horse field at 5-1 on this race.
I kind of have a rule that I don't play West Coast turf horses out here on the East Coast. She ran well enough at Kentucky Downs, but she was down on the inside, and that turf course was playing fair to speed and kind of inside to horses. So although she was brilliant here and visually impressive, the West Coast turf horses, I just don't have as much turf racing as we have here on the East Coast. I'm always a little skeptical.
4 to 5. She's the one to beat. Let's head downstairs, get a Paddock report from Maggie Wolfendale.
And you always have to be skeptical about a horse showing up at a track for the first time, especially at a short price in regards to Simply Breathless. But I will say it does feel like Neil Drysdale is probably the one trainer that can gauge what horses to bring here to the East Coast. And watching that last race, which, as Jonathan pointed out, was dominated on the front end, Mitchell Road and Miss Bad Behavior just kind of went 1-2 around there, and Miss Simply Breathless was kind of third, fourth, fifth throughout, but stayed on the inside, and maybe the inside was good, but I just thought, as though watching her, she didn't look that comfortable being down in there necessarily. But then again, she is a smaller filly, so you can't really make that as a big excuse. You can see that white eye on her. It is bold, that white eye. As I saw her schooling in the paddock here yesterday, she looks sensational too. She is a bit on the smaller side, it must be said, relative to the rest of her foes, but she looks good. She's incredibly well conditioned. I really don't have any problems with her. And I think a mile and a 16th is ideally a good distance. She's 1 for 1 at it here in the States. Now, number 2, Victorine. She might be the most impressive looking animal that we see. 1 of 2 for Christophe Clement. And the other one a long shot in here, but Victorine finished behind Sweet By and By when that mare, filly I should say, wired the field last time out. And I will say, when this turf course gets like this, as we saw in the previous few turf races here today, it's hard to make up ground because it kind of gets this slick type of going out there where it's loose on top but firm on the bottom and the layer beneath, and the rain has been coming down steadily, so I think it's going to be even tougher for horses to make up ground on this turf course. So Victorine, she might be up against it despite how good I think she looks here. Number 4, Adina Del Sur, same thing can be said for her. She finally got the win after knocking on the door for quite a long time. For Tom Albatrani, I thought she looked better than ever going back to her Saratoga effort, where she was behind Dream Passage, an earlier winner on the card. Maybe she's a cut below these, I will say that, but she does team up again with Luis Saez. I like that combination for her, and she looks great here for Tom Albatrani. But again, guys, as I get it back to you, I think it's going to be tough for horses to make up ground on this turf course.
All right, Maggie, thanks. So 9 minutes to post here. And, I mean, how aware are you of that as a rider as a day plays out?
No, you know, if you're doing your homework, you're on top of your game, you're focused and in tune with all of that for sure. But at the end of the day, you really can't change horses' styles. And, yeah, you can ask them maybe to get a little better position, be a little closer, but you can't take a closer and suddenly turn them into a speed horse.
No, it doesn't seem like it's something that would work out all that well, and anytime you've hoped for it by trying to create a way for a horse to win, it doesn't seem to ever go the right direction.
So Andina Del Sur, 11-1 from a 9-2 morning line. She won the Violet Monmouth mile and a 16th last time out.
Just not sure how good this race really was. She was wide all the way around there, so you obviously want to upgrade her performance based on that. But I just wasn't crazy about the others that were in this race. She dug in and got the job done, but it wasn't overly impressive. And I don't like when there's a blanket finish like that, when 3 finish there. Kind of makes me question how good the race is.
It looks like she has some hang in her, too. She was hanging on the leader there. It looked like at one point she might not go by. Then that horse comes on the outside and kind of pushed her past and then almost ran her down. I question her desire at crunch time.
Well, pace-wise in this race, Sweet By and By, she stole a race last time out against allowance optional claiming. And she might be able to do that again this afternoon, or at least that's going to be the plan. And she's been very tough on turf. She lost her debut on the turf, and then she went to the bench for a long, long time. The only other defeat on turf was off an 8-month layoff where she got beat a neck.
Yeah, she got it done this time. You see Victorine right there in the yellow silks with the blue hat running at her. Victorine was wide all the way around there. Victorine is drawn inside of her today, so I think she'll get a much better trip here. I don't envision Sweet By and By finishing in front of Victorine this time.
What do you think, Meg? 5-1 right now.
Well, I mean, she could get very loose. I'm looking at the race. I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of speed. Maybe Christoph has the 5 Candy Store, who has shown speed at least last year. She hasn't had very good form this year so far, and I don't know what happened to her in the Violet. Obviously, something went awry, and she must be 100% if he's coming back here. Maybe she helps attend the pace. If that's the case, it's going to make it tough on Sweet By and By, and I agree with you. Then Victorine certainly should turn the tables on her.
Well, Victorine 7-1 right now. That's a look at her. Irad Ortiz Jr. back aboard for Clement. 2-time winner on the turf. And should get a stalking trip in here. She should be, well, she's come from fairly far out of it. She's been dead last. Really all 3 of her last 3 starts, all 3 state starts. So she's going to have some work to do up front. And if that 3 does get loose on the lead, it's going to make her job more difficult.
And she started her career in Europe, and a lot of times horses like that they like to get covered up. So she should get that nice covered inside trip. I refer to it as kind of just sitting in the pocket there, saving ground. And look, I think if she can get lucky and get clear, and if she will shut off like you would think she might, I think she's going to be tough in this spot at a much more attractive price of 7-1 than you're getting on some of the others.
Ran very close, just beat a length of 3/4 to Homerique for Chad Brown over at Deauville. Came here to the Sands Point on a yielding turf, ran 4th, yet to win. Looking for that first stakes victory, or victory at all, by the way, as we get set for our post parade here. Brought to you by OCD Pellets, celebrating over 10 years of supporting the equine industry with their 2-in-1 bone and joint supplement. Go to OCDpellets.com for more information. We kick off with Simply Breathless 3-5.
3-5, very short price favorite. Inside draw, Joel Rosario, and she has won a graded stake already.
All right, Christophe Clement setting out Victorine.
She broke a little slow last time, was closing into a slow pace. She was wide as well. I think she'll run much better today with an inside draw.
Jose Ortiz, he had 4 wins yesterday. Can he go gate to wire again on Sweet By and By?
Sweet By and By gets loose, she'll make them pay. She's quality, and she showed that she can carry it. It just depends on if anybody else takes her on early.
And Dina Del Sor coming off that win in the Violet at Monmouth last start for Tom Albertrani.
Not sure how good that race was. All the horses in there had not won their previous start, and none have won since.
Is a former grade 3 winner. She won the Florida Oaks as a 3-year-old. Candy Store, Christophe Clement as well. Junior Alvarado.
A filly that just needs to find her best form, but has shown good speed at times, and maybe she's the one that attends Sweet By and By up on the lead.
Maddie's Magnum, 26-1, big long shot for David Donk.
Big long shot. I think she wants a little bit more ground than she's going to get today.
Pepper Sprout, she has done very little wrong. 2 wins in a second and comes in off a race at Delaware in which she set a track record.
This is going to be her first race in New York. Most of her running has been in the Mid-Atlantic. It's deeper waters here.
And Zenobia, 8-1. John Velasquez for Jonathan Thomas. States start number 3 after coming in from Ireland.
3rd start off the layoff. She's got some good time form ratings in Ireland. Showed good speed last time on a slow pace. She'll probably be stalking from the outside with the Hall of Famer, Johnny Velasquez.
How do you look at that race? She had a 2-length lead and was not able to finish late in the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, 1 1/8 maybe was starting to get a little bit out of her scope. I really pay attention to how far horses run in Europe because it seems like they have such a good handle on where horses top out, how far they actually want to go. And she was running 7 furlongs to a mile there. Maybe 1 1/8 was a bit far. Maybe the 1 1/16 helps her.
In Europe, Mig, I know you've ridden over there a few times. It is the way those courses are kind of up and down, and the ground usually a little bit more testing. Does like a 7 furlong race there kind of play more like a mile for us?
Yeah, I would say that. Like if you got a true mile or 7/8 there is going to be fine because it is demanding. You know, when they run on heavy ground, you look at some of the times of the races when they're yielding ground. 7 furlongs and 1:27. 7 furlongs she ran heavy ground, 1:39.
Wow.
And she won. So think about, you know, we'll run a mile in a 16th here in 1:39. She ran 7 furlongs in 1:39.
2 minutes to post in our ABR race of the week. Let's check in again with Maggie.
And just to kind of elaborate on number 9, Zenobia here, it's kind of no wonder that she maybe didn't, well, I mean, she won in the heavy ground, don't get me wrong, but I think American courses, as you guys were kind of alluding to, might be a little bit more preferable for her because she's actually a big filly. And when she first came here and made her stateside debut for Augustin Stable and Jonathan Thomas, she still had that very European look to her. She was very kind of lightly framed, very angular. And since her time in Jonathan's barn, she has really filled out. I mean, tenfold from that first start going back to midsummer in June. And I always like to see that, whether it's a thing that's really going to improve their running or not remains to be seen. But then again, she did improve last time out back here in September. So I think she could be tactical enough. I know she's going a little less ground here, but she was very sharp again in the paddock and the post parade, and hopefully Johnny can get her in a good position going forward. I'm going to take a little bit of a flyer with her, guys, at 7-1.
Maggie, thanks. All right, so third time out here in the States for Jonathan Thomas. She was very forwardly placed last time out, and he'll have options from the outside.
Yeah, and Johnny's a rider that doesn't get in horses' way. He won't send her off her feet. He'll let her run to the position she's comfortable in, and he won't take anything away that comes easy. If you think about Johnny, always kind of going forward. Very rarely do you see him get in a position where he has to stop a horse's momentum.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially with that outside draw. And so many times it feels like we've seen Johnny on all this Todd Pletcher superstars that he was riding and sitting just kind of in that 2 or 3 path right off the speed. And when it's time to go, they go. And he's going to fit this horse perfectly.
No, Clement has 2 in here, 31-1 on Candy Store. She did nothing, I get it, and I think that race was put a line through it. But this is a Group 3 winner in Italy. She ran against a Raving Beauty, who won the Grade 1 just a game over in a Group 1 in Italy as well. This horse could be dangerous, and this horse has speed as well. I wonder how involved Junior Alvarado gets with her.
And you know that he wouldn't be running her unless she was 100%. So obviously, like you said, put a line through the last race. Something went awry. She was well beaten. I think she's going to be involved. I do. I think because she complements Victorine's style, even though it's different ownership, and the fact that she's been successful showing speed.
And the rain's coming down pretty good here. She's won on heavy, good over in Europe. She also ran well here on good.
It's our ABR race of the week, the Grade 3 Athenia, Simply Breathless from the inside. Already a graded stakes winner on the West Coast, trying to add a Grade 3 here at Belmont on the East Coast. Let's send it upstairs to the voice of New York racing for the call of our feature race. Here's Larry Colmus.
Just one left to load here at Zenobia, who walks up to the outside stall and goes in. They're all in line. They're off in the Athenia, and it's Sweet By and By out for the lead. On the outside comes Candy Store, and these two will be the pacemakers. Candy Store now is going to take charge. Zenobia goes up on the far outside, then Andina Del Sur, and then Simply Breathless, who takes her spot at the rail 5 lengths from the front. Victorine is right behind her, and then Pepper Sprout and Maddie's Magnum. So onto the backstretch they go, and it is Candy Store the leader through a 23.67 opening quarter mile, taken on now by Zenobia, and Zenobia now goes up and grabs the lead up the backstretch. John Velasquez waiting no longer with Zenobia, and they open up by a length and 3/4 to Candy Store. And then it's Sweet By and By, followed by Andina Del Sur, and Simply Breathless is 6 lengths off the lead while riding the rail up the backstretch. Pepper Sprout is next on the outside of Victorine, and Maddie's Magnum is trailing the field through a 47.46 half mile. Entering the far turn, it is Zenobia on top and pulling away now to a 5-length lead. Now it's 6. Zenobia just motoring along here, 6 lengths out in front of Andina Del Sur, who's grabbed second. And then on the inside, it's Candy Store. Simply Breathless has been taken to the outside, and she's 9 lengths behind. Then Sweet By and By, Victorine, Pepper Sprout, Maddie's Magnum. 3/4 in 1:10.85. And they're into the stretch. Let's see if Zenobia can keep on going here. And Dina Del Sur is 4 lengths behind her. Sweet By and By is closing in 2. And then on the outside comes Simply Breathless. Zenobia still there, on top by 2.5. Sweet By and By closing but running out of time. Then Andina Del Sur. It's Zenobia holding on by 1.5 lengths in the Athenia over Sweet By and By. Andina Del Sur, and Victorine ends up 4th.
It's Zenobia for Jonathan Thomas in Augustin Stable in the Grade 3 Athenia, and she got the trip I think Sweet By and By was hoping to get.
Well, Sweet Pie and By jumped out there aggressively, but then Candy Store took it to her, and then just when Candy Store was settled down a little, here came Johnny and Zenobia kind of running off, and she kept finding Jonathan.
Yeah, what's great about that is Johnny, I'm not sure if anybody else would have won, but Johnny, right? You have that confidence as a Hall of Fame rider to let her go.
Right.
She wants to run, then we're going to let her go, where a lot of guys that might not have the same accolades and confidence might have taken her back there, let her roll. I don't know. They could have kept going. I'm not sure they would have passed her.
Gotten in a fight with her and taken more energy trying to slow her down than just letting her go ahead and run.
7-1 on Zenobia, and yeah, I'm with Jonathan. I don't know if anyone's going to make up any ground on her no matter how far they went in here. This was impressive. She was really liking what she was doing out there.
Yeah, you know, and Johnny kind of waited till as late as possible before he went to the whip to keep kind of go forward. And when Sweet By and By kind of loomed, it seemed like she kept finding like maybe she would have met more of a challenge. This is impressive. She ran a mile in 34 and change and kept going, and the ground can't be that firm.
Jonathan Thomas, well done. Third start here in the States for this 5-year-old Mare by Falco. Just had Catholic boy recently announced retired, headed to Claiborne. But he's got a talented 5-year-old Mare that collects a graded stakes victory here at our ABR race of the week is Zenobia with John Velasquez. Prices set up the next when we come back.
What constitutes a promising stallion? Speed? He's still the fastest tappet ever around 2 turns. Pedigree? He's got the strength of the founding fathers, top and bottom. And he's passing that strength on. With 2 graded stakes winners and 3 TDN Rising Stars from his first crop, he's one of the leading freshman sires in the country. Constitution. He's the son of Tappet we've all been waiting for.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Mastery retired undefeated, winning his 4 starts by a combined 20 lengths. A 6-figure September sale purchase, he won impressively in his 2-year-old debut at Santa Anita. From there, he captured the Grade 3 Bob Hope Stakes and completed his juvenile campaign with a dominant performance in the Grade 1 Los Alamitos Futurity. At 3, the top-rated son of Candy Ride sizzled in the San Felipe. Now his much-anticipated first crop has arrived. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the races, our ABR race of the week, Grade 3 Athenia and Zenobia takes over the lead under Hall of Famer John Velasquez and does not look back.
Opened it up, had a big lead. It looked 7-8 lengths around the far turn, and just shows you speed is always dangerous.
Broken record, forward on the turf course. It's a dangerous place to be.
Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Here with winning trainer Jonathan Thomas and Zenobia. Jonathan, I think you were glad when you legged Johnny Velasquez up, because a Hall of Famer is probably the one who's brave enough to do that and set those fractions with this filly.
Yeah, we were hoping he'd go ahead and be aggressive and assertive. Assertive is probably the right word, because she's just a big galloping filly, and I thought the rain would really help us today because she likes a little cut in the ground. It was a beautiful ride, and I thought his ride into the first turn was like it is a masterpiece, you know. That's where I think he won the race, was first turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And one, you don't really want to get in her way because she is so big and probably lose if you got in a fight with her. But 2, she's kind of really progressed nicely since her stateside debut back in June.
She has. You know, I think a lot of it has to do with the climate. You know, the weather's getting a little more cool, and I think her coat and everything's just come around, and, you know, we can only go with those things.
We'll also announce this week retiring your stable star. Really kind of was the horse who, I don't want to say put you on the map because a lot of us knew who you were, but certainly put your name mainstream as far as Catholic boy is concerned, but retired, and bittersweet.
It is, but, you know, the whole team is so proud to get him off to a place like Claiborne, and he's going to get such an opportunity to hopefully replicate himself. And, you know, he was a real treat, and to train, and I was just very fortunate, you know. So we're happy to send him off sound and happy and looking great.
Very few horses have done what he's done to grade ones on either surface.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of versatility. We could get into his bloodlines. It's a whole new, addition to the gene pool right now. So I think he's got a lot of future.
Well, well done you for your campaign with him, and congratulations on taking this Athenia.
Yeah, that was great. And Mr. Strawbridge he's been such a huge supporter of us. This means a lot. Between him and Johnny, we've got a lot of history. Just to win a big race with Johnny and Mr. Strawbridge it's really, really cool.
I was gonna say, is that going back to your jump days at all with Mr. Strawbridge?
It is. I used to ride some jumpers for him, and he's just been a huge supporter for us, and I can't thank him enough for that.
That's really cool, Jonathan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Zenobia in this Athenia, guys. Wow, those lines kind of going back, and Jonathan, even with Johnny Velasquez, were his days with Todd Pletcher. They had a lot of success together as well.
Well, yeah, in Augustin Stable, of course, George Strawbridge used Jonathan Shepard for many, many decades, actually, and now it's Jonathan Thomas getting Zenobia into the winner's circle here. As you look at the late pick 5 follow along, mentioned Catholic Boy there, of course, and sad to see him go, but he was a tremendous runner on the racetrack. Just the third horse in the history of this sport, 3-year-old in the U.S., to be a Grade 1 winner on turf and dirt in his 3-year-old campaign.
Pretty remarkable, and I love the fact that he's going to stand the first year for $25,000. I think another horse named Run Happy stands for $25,000 as well.
Yes,
I think it's a good price point for a dual Grade 1 winner to both surfaces. I think it's a great price
Run
point.
Happy's not giving up that stall.
No.
Gonna have a friend though. That'd be fun to see those two go at it in a little match race, wouldn't it, on the farm? We still have one more coming up in this finale here. 7 furlongs on the turf. New York bred maiden claiming race here to close things out. And Chad Brown sending out right now. Horse is a 4-5 favorite on the board. Corey Scores, who's this horse has eaten up a lot of money as a favorite.
A lot. A lot of money. And when you look down at the paper, you kind of feel like this one makes a lot of sense, but I just don't trust. And I ended up landing on the 2 Rousey. I thought Rousey made some sense in here. When you look at these races that are late, and you know, we usually wrap up our cards with them, those maiden claimers, it's trying to identify the class of the race, because it's usually what it comes down to.
But it is a pretty significant drop in class, going from the maiden allowance, maiden special, to 40,000, right?
No, it's a huge drop. It's a huge drop. The problem is that a lot of times the drop is done because the horses don't necessarily want to get their picture taken, and
Right.
that doesn't matter what they're running for. They sometimes get a little camera shot.
I think it's a fair assessment.
Let me tell you this real quick. There's a horse in this race who's been at this level before, has only been on the turf once, hit the board at this level, getting back on grass, who results in this entire jackpot carryover getting hit this afternoon. That's the 12 horse outside.
Once again, we had this earlier in the week. I just want to meet
this horse
I want to
figures.
meet, I want to meet the horse player that hit this entire sequence and singled this horse. I just want to know why. I get it. It's great. Good for him, 23-1, and we'll be rooting for whoever made that wager. But you did mention he's got the back race that suggests that possibly it could happen.
All right, we'll find out. Highly likely is the filly, the 12 here on the outside, that would result in the jackpot getting hit. Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Take a look at the contenders that will line up, and got a lot more interesting with Omaha Beach opting for this spot for Richard Mandela. We're going to take a look, though, at Mr. Money, who's coming in off a second-place performance in the Penn Derby.
I love this horse. I love him in this spot. Depending on where he draws and how he's training into the race, he will be used in this race. For me, I know Omaha Beach is going to be a big favorite here. But Mr. Money, look, this is still kind of an oddly run race. Gabe Sias kind of fought him a little bit early. I thought he could have probably got a lead going 47. I kind of call that the old Game On Dude, where I thought Game On Dude was better going 46 than he was going 49. I thought maybe Mr. Money could have been let to run here a little bit, and I think he will be let run coming up here in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
I also think if he would have seen the challenge in the Pennsylvania Derby, he was kind of occupied with horse around him. Anytime someone was right on him, he did more. The winner was too far away from him for really him to engage. He is a sensational workhorse in the morning, and he has not lost a step. This is as good a work as he's had all year, and they've all been good.
He's going to be forgotten. They're going to bet Omaha Beach. They're going to bet Bob Baffert and Improbable, and little old Mr. Money will be ignored. He's run fast figures all year long. He kind of went on the mid-level Derby trail where he was hitting all the little spots, picking up checks. He's showing up against the big boys now, and I think he's going to have a good account of himself.
Another horse that might be flying under the radar a little bit in this race for Todd Pletcher, Coal Front, who comes out of the Parks Dirt Mile.
I thought he was very game here, and I don't think it was a dead rail at Parks, but I don't think it was the best place to be, and I thought he showed a lot of gameness to come back under Mike Smith here.
Yeah, you typically don't want to be down there, and so whether it was real bad or just not ideal, I thought he ran good in this spot, especially getting some pressure and kind of pushing it away and fighting. And he can get on a plane. He went all the way to Dubai and ran in a big race.
Yeah,
and won it. And I mean, Pletcher thought enough of him to put him into the Met Mile. That was the most loaded race that we've seen all year.
Yeah. And it looks like he's come out of the last race in good order. This is him working on the training track. And, typical maintenance move that you see from Todd Pletcher. Once they're fit, you just want to maintain that fitness level. You don't need to see anything fancy, but he's striding out well. He looks good. He looks like he's in good flesh. Thought his gallop out was real good here as well.
But in the end, I mean, obviously, Omaha Beach is going to take so much attention in that race. What do you think? Where are you going to lean right now?
I'm going to lean Mr. Money. I mean, logic tells you Omaha Beach, right? It's like he won the mile on 8th Arkansas Derby. He probably wants to go longer in the long run. He had no shot in the Grade 1 going 6 furlongs against a 3-year-old who's run the fastest Beyer speed figure ever. He wins that race, and now he's here in the miles, second off of a break. I mean, everything says he's going to run well, and that's why he's going to be 4 to 5, and I'm going to try to beat him.
Sure. The thing, too, we got to remember, maybe more than any other race, post positions are going to be huge in that mile. Very short run to the first turn at Santa Anita, big field. You don't want to have a bad draw.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back. We're going to talk a lot more Breeders' Cup over the course of the next week as we get closer and closer to championship weekend. Corey Scores, there's your favorite. Chad Brown, this one dropping in for a tag for the first time. 3-year-old filly by More Than Ready, the one to beat, coming up.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Go from Railbird to Winner Circle. With My Racehorse, you have access to top horses and trainers, backside tours, exclusive ownership experiences, and fast payouts to your online account. With shares starting as little as $100, the Winner Circle is waiting for you. Go to myracehorse.com or download the My Racehorse app today to join the thousands who have already started their journey as a racehorse owner.
It's been home to some of the sport's biggest moments, monumental achievements, and extraordinary records. At Santa Anita, we'll set another before the first gate even opens, as the Breeders' Cup returns for a record 10th time. This November, the stars will shine, champions will be crowned, and when the unbelievable happens, you'll want to be there to see it. The Breeders' Cup World Championships.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the Races, Greg Wolf, Richard Migliori, Jonathan Kinchin, Maggie Wolfendale. We're 10 minutes away from our finale on this Sunday card. Let's head downstairs and get a paddock report from Maggie.
Well, guys, I'm kind of like you upstairs. I've seen my fair share of Corey Scores, and once again, I'll try to beat her, but she is dropping in for this maiden claimer for the first time a deserved spot, I should say, as we'll take a look at number 2, Rousey, who will go out for the former Chad Brown employee. That's Jorge Abreu. And first time out, she just seemed a bit green, kind of going back to that race. And in the paddock, that was similar the case as well, and today she just seems a lot more calm, a lot more focused. Those shortcut blinkers do go on. She physically looks much the same. She's a really solid filly. She's kind of really built downhill with those massive hindquarters, so she looks like a turf sprinter. We'll see how she negotiates the 7, but I'm hoping to see her show a bit more speed than what she did first time out, as those blinkers do go on, because I think she should. As number 6 is Frosty Linz, who is cutting back in distance, and we'll see if she shows the same amount of speed that she did going 1 mile and 1/16 in her last 2, as opposed to her races sprinting formally, where she didn't have quite as much speed. But I like her. She's actually has her energy contained for the most I've seen from her in previous outings. And I know she's had her chances as well, but she's not going to be a short price. She's never been a short price in here. And physically, she's probably looks the best I've ever seen from her. And Dominic Scatino is having one heck of a meet here for this fall meet, batting right around 30%. So I'm a little bit curious about Frosty Linz as she sits at 17-1. Now, number 9, Kitty Therapy, maybe she can play out as being one of the more forwardly placed runners in here. She gets, once again, another furlong to run over. Blinkers go on, fairly full cup, a 3/4 cup kind of, or big cheaters, if you will, on her. And last time, she didn't have quite as much speed, although she was down on the inside, which is a tough spot to be in. But she was kind of really, really quiet going back to that day. And now she's a little bit more to herself that she's displayed in her previous outings, a little more on the muscle, on her toes. And she looks fantastic here for Michelle Nevin. So I think she might be one of the biggest threats to your favorite 6-5 on Corey Scores. Greg?
Maggie, thanks. Kitty Therapy, 7-1 right now. This is an intriguing race. I mean, Maggie was bringing up Frosty Linz. I think with the cutback in distance, intriguing, and even the 7 Amazing Zero. This horse more lightly raced. She's making her 3rd start. She's dropping in class, and she showed speed going longer against better.
Yeah, I like the turn back for her. I think 7/8 is probably going to be a perfect distance for her.
I like it a lot when horses make the lead at a better level, because they were fast enough to make the lead at the better level, the level that was, you know, maiden special weight rather than maiden 40. And then at some point during that race, they got ran at by a much better horse and were asked to kind of quicken when they weren't ready yet. And now you'd think that maybe that situation could be different facing lesser. So speed in maiden special weights, dropping to maiden claiming, an old school handicapping angle that I still like.
Interesting. Do you think that that's a big price for the 9 Kitty Therapy? 7-1 seems just maybe a little bit high.
No, it makes sense. It feels about right. The horse was 3-1 last time, ran for 40, hit the board in there. And this isn't the toughest edition of a maiden 40 that I've ever seen. There's some horses that have absolutely no chance in here. So it feels about right. I think if you were interested at 7-1, you could fire up the Naira Bets account.
Yeah, I mean, Abby Normal, who finished just ahead of her, she was also eligible in this race. If she had gotten in, I feel like Abby Normal would have been probably second or 3rd choice in this race. And she was only, a neck behind her?
Yeah, I mean, she's been very competitive. I like the blinkers going on. Dylan Davis climbs on board. He's been having a really good meet, riding with a lot of confidence. And I thought the 11, Tatarasi, was interesting. First time maiden 40, dropping back in distance as well. I thought the first race was actually decent when it didn't get off well, going 5.5. I think 7/8 will suit this horse as well. And Luis Saez, he's going to break from the gate well.
Yeah.
I always pay attention to horses that are single digits, maiden special weight, dropping in for a tag. There's a reason why, whether it's the trainer liked them, the horse is working good, the pedigree was there. There's a lot of reasons why horses take money, and it's something to pay attention to when you're trying to find out how quality a horse may or may not be when they're trying to drop in here for a tag.
And you put a line through that one race off the turf, the dirt race, which she, muddies up her form, I think, a little bit when you see that glaring 10th beaten 41. But her 2 turf races are both good or decent.
Here comes our post parade. There's a lot of interesting angles here in this finale. We're going to see Trumpet first, and there is the daughter of the the Derby winner, Super Saver, for Gary Gullo.
Out of the mare, Silence Please. I like that. This filly would have to show a bit more. Gary Gullo's been having a very good year, and he's always trying to place his horses aggressively.
We've seen this filly run our show before. Huge fan. Daughter of Violence, Rousey. Ronda Rousey, I'm a huge fan as well. Blinkers on and took money against Better first out.
Yep, 5-1 on debut. Adds blinkers today. Got the inside post. Manny Franco. Lots of things in this one's favor.
17-1, causing trouble. Kendrick Carmouche getting on the turf for the first time.
Yeah, tries turf first time for a very underrated trainer in David Duggan, and turf's going to have to turn her ability around.
Corey Scores, the one to beat, dropping in for a tag for the first time for Chad Brown.
This is a really interesting horse. She can't seem to get it done. This summer, she was working with Catch a Bid, stakes horse, Blowout, stakes horse, and Turf War, stakes horse. She's in for 40.
Frosty Lynn's 15-1 Luis Reyes. Is this the one cutting back that Maggie was intrigued by?
Love the cutback. She showed speed last time. She was, we had a note she was washy last time. Maybe she'll run better today.
And here's the 7 Amazing Zero. Made the lead against Better, and now drops in class.
And Rajiv Mirage stays put here. You would think he would have had the option between her and Kitty Therapy. I tell people not to read too much into it, but I think in this case he probably had his choice.
Magical Romance, 38-1. Has had 7 starts on turfs, only hit the board once.
Yeah, 2 efforts at this level, and neither of them were good enough to even get a piece. I'm going to look elsewhere.
Kitty Therapy blinkers going on off a 3rd place finish.
And Dylan Davis climbs the board, getting a nice aggressive warm-up. I think she'll be forwardly placed with the addition of blinkers and the way she's warming up.
They've been trying to get Alexicrat on the turf. Both of the first 2 starts have been washed off. They finally 3rd time the charm here.
Yeah, didn't see much on the paper to suggest this one was going to turn it around on the turf.
And I see what Mig's saying here with this 11. Tata Razi, intriguing here, Daughter of the Factor.
I think this horse is very well spotted here for 40. Luis Saez, I think she's got to look here at a price.
This is the one that results in the Empire 6 jackpot getting hit. The 12 out there somewhere. Highly likely. We're still looking at the 11, Tata Razi. 24-1 though on this one right here, and there's the 4-year-old filly by Horse Greeley.
Good luck if you're in an OTB, a racetrack, wherever you're at. You're alive for $250,000.
Woo. La Rubia, and also eligible, gets into the field as well. Start number 3, blinkers going on, John Toscano Jr.
Well, those blinkers would have to really improve her a great deal because she really has not shown much in either of her first 2 starts.
52-1. 2 minutes away. I mean, that's all you can ask for, right? Is to get into positions like that to be alive for that kind of money.
Yeah, they're probably running hedging, betting tens of thousands of dollars on all these other horses to try to get some kind of return here. But
is that the move? Is it, if you're in that position, to try to hedge it a little bit?
I mean, the problem is having the liquid to do it, right? But yeah, I mean, I think if you're alive for $240,000 to the 12, you can find a way to kind of guarantee yourself a return. It's a lot of math, and it's kind of hard to do. It's hard to get all that money in as well. But no, it's definitely a move you can consider.
Well, meanwhile, going to have to deal with and get by and beat a Chad Brown filly dropping in for a tag for the first time, and he's pretty good with this maneuver.
He's pretty good with every maneuver, right? It's just interesting. You brought up the litany of stakes winners this horse has worked with all summer. So in essence, she was the sparring partner.
Sure was. Look, you got to have some talent to keep up with those in the morning. To show up here. Look, it's a lot of times Maddock Stables and a lot of these other big operations, they're not in the game for claiming horse. They're not in the game for maiden 40s. They're not in the game for starter allowance. That's not what they're here for. They're here for stakes horses, stakes types. And if a horse kind of just proves to them that they're not that kind, then, part ways and let someone else have an opportunity.
She was not far off graduating in her debut against State Bred Maiden Special at Saratoga first time out. So we'll see. She has kind of regressed, it seems, since that time as we head downstairs to Maggie.
All right, guys, getting a little cray-cray down here. It's the last race. We've seen some crazy upsets in it. I'm going to talk about the 41-1 shot, the carryover horse, who has done absolutely no running in her 2 previous efforts, but they were on off-the-turf events, and no discredit to her former trainers, but Phil Serpy does a good job. I know he's having a little bit of a struggling Belmont meet, but he can get home a winner. This gal is by Courageous Cat, out of a Vice Regent mare who, yeah, that's getting to be a bit of an old pedigree, but there were siblings to handle the turf, especially in turf sprints. There was a couple winners, more of a dirt family, but she definitely has a turf hoof to her. Very slack pasterns, very flat foot on her. She looks great for a 47-to-1 shot as well. And I just think, I'm hoping that she can show a little bit more speed, obviously, than she has on the dirt. Not that I feel confident that that's going to be the case here, but she is sharp and she's fit. So I'm hoping the turf can move her up. It's going to have to move her up a lot, though. Greg?
Well, at least you're trying something new here for the first time. Look, they wanted to get her on the turf each of the first 2 tries. I mean, that's a positive that they were thinking turf anyway, just got washed off.
Yeah, and Maggie made some great points. And I think, Jonathan, you said it right. This isn't the toughest maiden 40 that we've ever seen.
No, and I judge that usually based on how many horses are dropping or how many horses that have run at the level are running speed figures that kind of jump off the page at you. And it's just not a ton dropping. And the ones that are dropping they kind of have that give up look to them rather than the drop to win look.
Interesting.
From a pure just value standpoint, Rousey at 7-1, the 2. That horse took money first time out, making a change, putting blinkers on, dropping a class.
You love
I think
the
intriguing.
name.
And I love the name.
Look, I'm rooting for the 12 highly likely because essentially I know this person's going to find me through the internet. If he hits for 240,000, just send me 5. Just 5. Just 5,000. That's all I need.
Shameless. You have to root for whoever has that horse. That is just a great position to be in. Hopefully gets a thrill and hopefully more. We'll see what happens. You never know. These nightcaps, especially on turf, with a little weather here, some darkness, maybe we'll get a little chaos here. We set it upstairs. It's the finale on this Sunday afternoon. Here's the voice of New York racing to bring them home, Larry Colmus.
Tantarazzi now going into the starting gate. So now we're just waiting for Highly Likely and La Rubia. Highly Likely going in. And La Rubia, the outside stall. La Rubia stepping up. And going in. They're all in line. They're off. Kitty Therapy out sharply with Alexocrat on the outside. Tantarazzi is right up there too with Rousey down toward the inside. Sent on through now to grab the front as they go up the backstretch. And then it's Frosty Lynn's followed by Magical Romance. Highly Likely to the outside. La Rubia is after that. And splitting horses comes Amazing Zero up the backstretch. Corey Scores is about 10 lengths off the lead early on here. And then comes Trumpet and Causing Trouble. A 23.13 quarters. They make their way into the far turn. Rousey is the leader, 3/4 of a length. And then it's Kitty Therapy running in second. Tantarazzi is third on the outside. Toward the inside, Highly Likely is fourth and just 2.5 lengths off the lead in contention on the far turn. They're being followed by Frosty Lynn's and then Magical Romance and Amazing Zero on the outside. It is Rousey on top through a 47.28 half mile. Tantarazzi on the outside is second. Behind the leaders, Highly Likely now grabs third and will angle to the outside as they make their way toward the top of the stretch here. They're into the stretch. And on the inside, it is still Rousey the leader. And now Magical Romance is rushing up on the far outside. Corey Scores is on the scene late too with Tantarazzi. Highly Likely did not go on and is back running in fifth. It's Corey Scores drifting out with the lead. And Corey Scores is going to do it here as the heavy favorite, pulling away late in the end here from the back of the pack to a 5.5 length win over Magical Romance, Tantarazzi, and Rousey.
Well, it's the favorite, Corey Scores. Chad Brown in for a tag for the first time, but how about, I want to say 89-1 underneath?
Really?
Am I seeing that right?
I think you are.
Wow, Magical Romance completing this exacta. That's how you create value in a race.
Yeah, absolutely. We were all trying to beat the 4 Corey Scores. She just found a field that she liked a lot. She was saying, you know who I spar with in the mornings? Do you know who I work out with? And I tell you what, there's a lot of give in the course. You could hear from up here the moisture in it from the hoof beats. From the third floor down to the racetrack, you could hear it. So They went 7/8 and 25, but they tore this course up a little bit.
Rousey tried to knock him out early on the front end. Could not hang on to the lead. Winds up fourth. But yeah, how about that? 89-1 in second. Magical Romance. 6-year-old mare who had only hit the board once in 10 starts winds up second, but no doubt about your winner. Wow, this barn is tough to beat.
Phew, they are tough to beat, and at every level, whether it's maiden 40 all the way to the grade ones, classic races. It's as well-rounded, balanced, stable as I've ever seen.
You know, I think one of Chad's biggest weapons is he has, at least it appears so, he's got very realistic owners. Understand where and trust him to place horses where they can win, where they belong. You know, a lot of people that a smaller operation or an operation with a overzealous owner might keep running Corey Scores in maiden special weight and she'll keep getting beat.
Right.
Corey Scores with the win, dropping class. Favorite takes the nightcap on this Sunday afternoon. We'll be back with more right after this. 4, 8, 11, 2 in the nightcap.
This proven son of Giants Causeway has sired 4 millionaires, including Claiborne Farm stallion Lee. Recent top runners include Cutting Humor, winner of the Grade 3 Sunland Park Derby, plus 3-time graded stakes winner Sharp Samurai, and international star Shamal Nibras. This year, his 2-year-olds have brought prices up to $310,000. First Samurai, standing at Claiborne Farm.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than americasbestracing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. americasbestracing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
Run Happy, you know, he's 16-2, he's a beautiful horse. There's stamina on top and bottom, and he's stamping his horses with that. I think they look big and fast and like horses that'll go on and run a distance as well as short.
He was a fantastic racehorse, and if he passes on his ability as a racehorse, I think he's a slam dunk to be a great sire. Very athletic looking and beautiful bodied horse as well.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the Races, Corey Scores dropping class, in for a tag for the first time for the 3-time reigning Eclipse Award-winning trainer Chad Brown. That equals a W.
And got a super confident ride, saved ground. Irad Ortiz eased out, just blew them away. And let's, you know, give credit to the 8 Magical Romance, Heeman Harkey and Kirsten LeBlanc getting it done for second here. Certainly made somebody's exacta.
I love when Irad's he's loaded with a horse and he just kind of hits the shoulder taps. And he, in fact, in those silks, I remember him doing that at Saratoga on Lady Eli. Not nearly the same animal, but similar ride.
So $4.60 for Corey Scores. It just seems too easy, didn't it? We kept looking
we kept
elsewhere.
trying to beat her.
That's what I'm saying. Too logical. We had to go somewhere else. Did not come up with Magical Romance underneath. That was a tough one to find. Pick 5, $604 with a favorite in the last. Zenobia was around 5-1. The king of 2-year-old fillies, Jeremiah Engelhardt. You had that one beating a 3-5 favorite Orsay that certainly helped that payoff. But yeah, Zenobia, the biggest price in the sequence at $16.40.
Oh, not bad at all. $600. One of those. It was very approachable, I thought. You know, the Dream Passage race, there wasn't a whole lot in there. I think there's probably 4 horses that you could bet, and then Tusk obviously ran well in there, and Corey Scores was probably a lot of people single.
Okay, we've got our showdown contest, second time this week. Toga 925 is the winner, $250 bankroll.
Was that you in second place, Greg God?
No, I go by a different name.
Oh, okay.
But I do like that name. You can get involved with that contest each and every day. By the way, you're playing for real prizes. You're not risking any of your own money. Fun to just kind of be involved. Fun way to watch the show and play along as well.
Absolutely. That'd be a good time, right? We're not allowed to play?
I play.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely.
We can get the prizes?
I haven't done well enough to get the prizes. I'll figure if I ever do well enough, I'll see if I get them or not. We'll find out. I haven't got to that point yet. We've been talking Breeders' Cup contenders throughout the show, and unfortunately there's going to be no Breeders' Cup for Maximum Security, but he is not ready to say goodbye to a 3-year-old championship just yet. We're going to see him on our show next weekend in the Bold Ruler, using that as a prep for the Cigar Mile.
If he wins the Cigar Mile, he's got Cigar Mile, Haskell, Florida Derby, and kind of the Kentucky Derby. Does he got a shot at champion?
I don't think people consider that, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to, don't you?
I think you have to.
You cross the wire
give him the
first.
Derby?
Well, no, I don't give him the Derby, but you got to take into account that he probably was the best horse in the Derby, although he was disqualified.
But we talked, actually, we talked last night at dinner about Code of Honor. Do you give him the Jockey Club Gold Cup, even though he was disqualified?
Yeah, I mean, I give him credit for that, too, because it was a nose. He did get brushed.
Well,
ran a winning race.
Okay.
Right now, to me, Code of Honor is the leader of the 3-year-old
So
division.
say Code of Honor happens to not show up Breeders' Cup weekend,
Yes.
and Maximum Security wins the Bold Ruler, wins out, wins the Grade 1 Cigar Mile as well.
Really tightened up.
Does he deserve it?
You got to strongly consider it. I could see people wanting to vote for him then.
The Haskell, the Florida Derby, and the Cigar Mile are possibly enough. It depends what happens to Omaha Beach as
You
well.
brought up an interesting point the other night, too. Code of Honor, 2 of his best finishes, beating older horses, and his second in the Derby, both results of being moved up via DQ. So it's interesting. But, at the end of the day, I think a lot of people just see, well, you finished where you finished, and you got what you got from the stewards. But some people may think differently.
Well, I still think you got to take an overall horse's performance into account. Win, lose, draw, disqualification. Horses sometimes get in trouble. They're trapped, and he was the best horse. Would you factor that in, or is it, oh, no, he lost, and
It seems like that doesn't happen a lot.
I think you got to have a little more vision. I
100%.
think you have to really, be a student of the game and be able to decipher that.
Here's what I hope. I hope Omaha Beach wins the Dirt Mile. I hope Maximum Security wins the Cigar Mile, and I hope Code of Honor wins the Classic, and then I'll let the press.
Well, he
fight
wins
it
the
out.
Classic. He's 3-0 champ.
Yeah, you would think so, no question. Well, Run Happy, of course, at stud, standing for $25,000. Going to have company next year with Catholic Boy, but right now he's the man at Claiborne. He was the horse of a lifetime for Mattress Mac.
Run Happy was going to be the last horse I ever owned. And I was getting out of the business. I had so many disappointments and heartbreaks and lost so much money at it. And then came Run Happy. So I guess the lesson there is persistence, never give up.
His performance in the Breeders' Cup Sprint was one that people will talk about for years to come. I mean, it was another, yet again, freaky performance, set the track record. The way he did it was pretty incredible.
He won at Keeneland, he won at Saratoga.
Run Happy!
He won at Santa Anita, he won at several of the legendary places in horse racing.
Run Happy is simply super! He polishes off an outstanding campaign with a dominant victory in the Malibu!
What a great horse, what a great thrill it was to be around Run Happy and now to follow his stud career. We couldn't be prouder to have Run Happy and have him stand at Claiborne Farms. That is myself and my daughter's happy place. We love Claiborne Farms, and Run Happy loves being there.
We put him in stall number 1 for a reason. We have a lot of confidence in this horse. We think he has all the capabilities and characteristics that you kind of look for in a great stallion. He had the speed, he had the form, he had the freaky talent, the athleticism, and he's really thrown it in his foals and yearlings. So we're over the moon with what we've seen. We feel like we're in a great spot, and now it's up to the offspring to prove it.
I'm looking forward to his first winner and hopefully his first greatest stakes winner. So we're going to have a lot of our own Run Happies. We campaign ourselves, and obviously lots of other people have Run Happy. So we're really looking forward to see if he can pass on his brilliance to these horses. We have 4 Run Happy yearlings, and we hope to buy some more at the sale. So hopefully we'll end up with 10 or 12 by next year. We decided to stay in for the majority share of Run Happy. So Run Happy is still part and parcel of our family. We think about him every day, and he's just, he's a champion to all of us.
What a runner, and early on, just doing tremendous with his offspring at the auction ring. Going going to see his runners hit the racetrack next year, win at Saratoga with a Run Happy and a non-restricted maiden special weight $100,000 bonus on the line. Going to make, as if Saratoga could get any more interesting. It already has with that promotion.
Those are going to be fun when those races show up. I've said it once. I'll say it again. If you haven't been to YouTube yet to watch Run Happy's first race, it's very, very entertaining.
Yeah, I actually went and watched it the other night because you guys were talking about it, and I hadn't seen it. And
It's
wow.
remarkable.
I mean, he tipped his hand early what he was.
Special horse, and we hope to see those 2-year-olds having a lot of success on the racetrack next summer. Our card in the books. We're going to be back, of course, next week with a whole nother week of Action Maximum Security back next weekend. That's going to be a lot of fun in the Bold Ruler. Wait and see who he shows up against in that race, but we hope you join us for that. There's so much that needs to play out through the end of the year, and, of course, the big conversation of, you know, who's in line for Horse of the Year, Bricks and Mortar. Sounds like now he's leaning Breeders' Cup Turf. Midnight Bisou in line for potentially a Horse of the Year campaign as well. And with all the shifting of where Omaha Beach, Catalina Cruiser, races they've gone to, going to be a lot of fun championship weekend.
Well, and I really think that this year more than any other than a few notable exceptions, I think Midnight Bisou's got older filly or mare wrapped up, is really going to decide the championships.
No, it's wide open. A lot of spots are open. Sprinter, I would imagine, still kind of an interesting conversation with 3 brilliant performances from 3 different sprinters. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's Matoli not out of the mix either for in a Horse of the Year campaign. If he can win the sprint.
Absolutely. And, you know, Midnight Bisou, I mean, it has been done in the past this year. He never stepped out of the distaff division and won Horse of the Year.
We will see you next week. We're back on Fox Sports 2 Wednesday, 1 Eastern, MSG Plus at 4 Eastern. That's on Wednesday. We will see you then in the Grade 3. Athenia. That's not the Athenia. That was Summer Fortune. Daughter of Violence for Jeremiah Engelhardt. He's had the magic touch for 2-year-old fillies. Here's Zenobia. John Velasquez saying, "I'll take the lead, thank you very much." And he kept on going. For Jonathan Thomas and Augustin Stable in our ABR Race of the Week. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a tremendous remainder of your weekend.
Coming on strong. Minute to stardom. On top, coming down to the final 16th. Opening up a 2-length lead. Feel my love for you.
Wild About Star, shining big here in Berry 1.
Oh, why did I wrong?
Testing, 1, 2. The Star Guitar filly leads Champagne Diva close to home. It's testing, 1, 2.
Feel my love for you. Coming on strong.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
That time at Oaklawn, win a home run. Made for a big night. Bet on your favorite teams at Oaklawn's new race and sports book. Oaklawn, a new level of action, a new level of excitement.
The thermal spring waters our city is named after are known for their legendary healing properties. Their thirst-quenching properties are pretty nice, too. Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's different here. Come see why.
It's been home to some of the sport's biggest moments, monumental achievements, and extraordinary records. At Santa Anita, we'll set another before the first gate even opens, as the Breeders' Cup returns for a record 10th time. This November, the stars will shine. Champions will be crowned. And when the unbelievable happens, you'll want to be there to see it. The Breeders' Cup World Championships.
Every summer for 2 months in upstate New York, the best jockeys, trainers, and equine athletes in the game assemble at historic Saratoga Racecourse. This summer, we were treated to some unforgettable and even record-setting performances. Over the course of the next half hour, we're going to show you the best of the best from this past summer at the Spa as the Saratoga Live team counts down the top 10 best performances of the meet.
And they're into the stretch, and it's Matoli off the turn in front.
A length and a half lead to Kelly Beg's captain. Firenze Fire is third on the outside. Promises Fulfilled is dropped back at the rail. A furlong to run. Matoli to catch. He's got a 2.5 length lead. Firenze Fire is second. Kelly Beg's captain is third. Behind the mighty Matoli.
Mighty Matoli is right, Andy. We saw some special stuff from sprinters this meet. Matoli rebounding in record-breaking fashion in the forego.
Yeah, this was, to me, one of the more satisfying wins because I'm a huge fan of Matoli, but also I think we're all fans of good horses. To me, he is an absolute leading contender for Horse of the Year at this point.
You know, it was Justify's Preakness Day, yet as we look at the number 10 most memorable moment at Saratoga, this meet, Matoli's dominant forego on the Travers undercard. But aside from Justify winning the Preakness, what I remember is Matoli. In his win, I believe the Chick Lang, the clock, the final time for 6 furlongs at Pimlico. Nobody runs that fast at Pimlico. It is no run-up whatsoever, lit up the clock, and right then you knew you were looking at something incredible.
As Concrete Rose turns for home and the Saratoga Oaks with the lead. Olin Dahl comes up on the outside into second. Coral Beach is third and then happened to the outside in Kelsey's Cross. Julian Leparoux says, let's go Concrete Rose, and she takes off. The Princess of the Turf. Concrete Rose wins the Saratoga Oaks.
North America's finest 3-year-old turf filly, Concrete Rose, stellar in the first ever Saratoga Oaks. But this is a two-part moment, the 9th most memorable moments, plural, of the Saratoga meet.
They're into the stretch. A thread of blue is still there. Trying to take them all the way as Digital Age is closing. Cape of Good Hope is putting in a late bid toward the inside. Social Paranoia fights on between horses. A thread of blue trying to get another 1/16 of a mile. Digital Age running after him. A thread of blue is still there, and he's going to go all the way in the Saratoga Derby Invitational.
Quiet meet for trainer Kieran McLaughlin, Andy, but he made a lot of noise on that afternoon with a thread of blue in the first Saratoga Derby.
Absolutely, and you know, I've talked to Kieran about it, and as he was saying, you know, it's been a tough meet, but when your one big victory is in $1 million race, he also had a little Cullen win for him too.
Right.
But this was a huge win for him, and as much as it pained me to see Digital Age lose, I was happy for Kieran.
At number 9, inaugural Turf Triple Series. Concrete Rose in the Saratoga Oaks. 48 hours later, a thread of blue in the Saratoga Derby.
And it's Serengeti Empress and Kofefi. And the two of them hook up as they arrive at the 8th pole. Serengeti Empress digs in inside. Outside it's Kofefi. Nothing separates these two as they come to the final 16th. It is Kofefi on the outside. Serengeti Empress digs down deep at the rail. The two of them down to the wire. And a test for the ages that goes to Kofefi.
Number 8, moment of the meet. For me, second best race of the meet. Kofefi, Serengeti Empress, Andy, throwing it down in the Grade 1 test.
You know, the test is one of these races that year after year after year seems to produce memorable performances, and they're no different this year. And a nice, very nice horse in Kofefi, but also Serengeti Empress.
You'd say that has to be hard for Tom Amoss to watch. He has to be so proud of Serengeti Empress and what she's, of course, the Oaks win. It took a freakish performance by Guarana to beat her in the Acorn, and that effort there with Kofefi in an absolute thriller. The number 8 moment of the 151st Saratoga meet. Kofefi, Serengeti Empress in a thriller, in a test for the ages. And Andy, it's been such an exciting time this year in general for 3-year-old fillies. Those two, Guarana, Dunbar Road, Concrete Rose, who's now on the sideline. For 3-year-old fillies, the depth and some of the brilliance we've seen in 2019 has been incredible.
And Amicio, Jaramillo, and Chancelot are all by themselves at the 8th pole. 8 lengths in front of Honest Mischief, who's taken second on the inside. And then it's Lemnisket, followed by Achilles Warrior, but it's a one-horse race. It's Chancelot, who's crushed the competition in the Amsterdam. He won it by 10 or more.
It was a performance that rocked the racing world. Twitter lit up, the clock lit up. Chancelot, absolutely brilliant in the Amsterdam.
One of my favorite moments the entire meet, we were on the set up front, and Tom Amoss and I were there. We both sort of turned around at the same time at the 8th pole to see him come by, as though we were seeing it on TV, but you just wanted to be sure it was actually happening in real life.
It was unbelievable the way he poured it on. And just days after, Imperial Hinton broke a record in the Vanderbilt, and here comes Chancelot shattering another record. When we come back, counting down the top 10 moments of the Saratoga meet, where does Code of Honor's Travers win rank?
Rushing fall, and she's too good. She wins the Longines Just a Game.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Counting down the finer moments of racing here at Saratoga as we pause. And what about the lighter side and some of the more humorous events we've seen on this show? A chance for you to laugh at us here on Saratoga Live.
I've already made a bet on this race, John. I've already bet over 157 is the final time for this race. And anybody in the set, by the way, if that fish Amos wants to get involved in this and he thinks under, his money's good with me.
You didn't pay anything last year after losing quite a few bets, so we'll just make it a gentleman's bet, because there is one gentleman in the bet.
The under prevails.
The under does indeed prevail, but
The best part is that Andy at the 16th hole said I'm a cinch.
I did too. I've heard him say that before.
And that looks like a tornado. And if that thing starts spinning, you guys are closing the show. Yeah, set's falling apart, storm moving in. So with that...
All right, guys, the rain's starting to come. Can I go now? The rain's falling. Holy Moses. Just briefly tell me about your trip. All right, let's get shelter, Louis. Congrats if you did win it, Lafitte.
I just want to know if I could clear through management, if I could just wear your wardrobe.
You got to have a doctor's note. We've been talking about it. You got to have a doctor's note. No, I'm a little bit upset. I read the newspaper this morning that you said you wouldn't wear my shirt to bed. That's a little bit mean, don't you think?
I'm a little bit mean.
What's happening, guys? Closing week, where did the time go?
That's Gary Stevens. He's right there.
Goes on for infinity.
Where'd everybody go?
On and on and on.
Andy Serling is very big in the pubs in New York. We have him on every afternoon with the show, so we brought him up an official FDNY cap, but we almost couldn't afford it because we follow his selections.
Andy, can you please make better picks for these guys?
I'll do my best. I would never want to let them down.
I'm no Maggie Wolfendale. I'm just making sure they all have 4 legs and a tail and a rider on them.
What on God's green earth is that?
That's what my teachers used to say back at school.
First win at Saratoga. How are we celebrating tonight?
Popping bottles tonight.
I love it. Wow, she has to go potty. I can't say I've seen that.
They just changed the track conditions.
Hang on, I can't see you guys doing it. Oh!
You all right? Okay?
Yeah.
That happened to Art behind the scenes, does a terrific job editing, completely knocked over. What a meet it has been. When are we going to get you in one of Jonathan's shirts that you said you wouldn't go to sleep in?
I wear ridiculous shirts at times in my life. It was all for show. And we're all just jealous that Jonathan gets to dress like that, and we have to dress like we're professionals.
I need his agent. I need his agent.
And Gaidu turns for home in front. Made you look. Now moves up right alongside after 3/4 in 108.36 and grabs the front. Got Stormy is finishing fast. March to the arch is charging in. Uni is 2. But as they come to the final 16th, Got Stormy has taken the lead. And Got Stormy, the filly did it in the 4-star Dave. The course record
Great call from Larry Comas. Got Stormy, record-breaking time, and for Mark Cassidy, Historic. First female to ever win the Grade 1 4-star Dave.
Marquesi knows how to get fillies and mares to win big turf races, especially the mile, doesn't he?
Tepin was pretty good. They say this is their next Tepin, by the way. And based on that performance, who's going to argue?
Well, that performance looked Tepin-like. She's got a long way to go in accomplishment to equal Tepin, I hope, for them.
Woodbine Mile, I believe, next for Godstormy. I think number 6 in performance in the 4-star Dave for the most memorable moments of the meet. What a meet for Mark Cassidy. What a year. Preakness,
yeah.
Belmont.
They're into the stretch in the Whitney. McKenzie, Preservationist, Vino Rosso, and Yoshida. And they're across the track. Coming to the final furlong, McKenzie's in front. Yoshida runs after him on the outside. Vino Rosso is third. McKenzie comes by the 16th pole, and he's going to do it. McKenzie has won the Whitney.
What a performance from McKenzie in the Grade 1 Whitney. Now Bob Baffert says he wants to get maybe one more start into him before the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, listen, this race was exceptional right here. And Mike Smith, I always say that horses aren't like driving cars when people say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Well, that particular day, he was like a sports car. Mike turned him on and off about 3 different times during the race. I thought they were going to collar him at the quarter pole, and he had a couple of gears left, guys.
Yeah, he did. And you heard a lot of familiar names in that Woodward that came back, and they ran, in the Whitney, that ran in the Woodward. And one of those was Preservationist, who's in his wake, who came back and really ran a much improved race in the Woodward. I think Preservationist has gotten closer to McKenzie, but McKenzie's our Pro Tem leader, no question.
Rushing Fall gets first run. Sister Charlie comes after her. They're 1-2. Omerique is finishing in the center of the course. It's Sister Charlie, Rushing Fall, and Omerique. The Chad Brown runners 1, 2, 3 coming down to the line, and it's going to be Sister Charlie and the Diana.
Sister Charlie off the bench, first start back since the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf victory, and does this off the bench back-to-back in the Diana.
She has a devastating kick, particularly if she can get pace up front. Now, this year, she's got a stablemate, Thias, that sets the table for her. Goes to the front as basically the rabbit for her in the race. And now that we know we're getting good pace up front as we did in the Diana, and then again at the Beverly D and at Arlington, we have a situation here where you're looking at a horse that's nearly impossible to beat.
Going to take a short timeout. We'll continue to run down our top 10 racing moments of the meet. How about a track record by this sprinter who's going to take a 3rd crack at the Breeders' Cup Sprint? We'll be back.
I'm a firm believer you don't put the saddle on the pedigree. I bought him strictly because of his physique, his conformation. And then when you looked at the pedigree, it was the perfect blend. Run Happy was an incredible, incredible racehorse, being supported by Airdrie Stud, who raises an incredible animal. To breed one of their best mares to him speaks volumes. It ended up producing an incredible result in this horse, and we just hope he runs to his looks and his pedigree.
Run Happy, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Whether you have Derby dreams or Midsummer Derby dreams, this is Tom Durkin to tell you a registered New York bred can take you there. That New York bred Exact and the Whitney by multimillionaires Diversify and Mind Your Biscuits shows the kind of quality that allowed New York breds to earn more than $93 million on the world stage last year. On-track successes have spurred New York bred sales result. At the March OBS sale, Chestertown sold for $2 million. And this New York bred 2018 yearling brought $1 million at Saratoga. So get with the program at nybreds.com.
We're gonna go traveling.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit NairaBets.com. Sign up now for a $200 new member bonus with promo code LIVE at NairaBets.com.
Back on Saratoga Live. We lost the great Mary Lou Whitney earlier this meet, who has meant so much to this racetrack, to this town of Saratoga. Her memory will live on forever. So special to this sport in a town that she has been so important a part of in making Saratoga what it is.
Mary Lou did wonderful things when no one was looking. Once Mary Lou set her mind to doing something, there was no stopping her.
She was a beacon of light in the community, not only in Saratoga, but I'm telling you, her power of being a champion and supporting those always in need, it speaks out around the world.
I mean, really and truly, we owe Saratoga, as we know it today, to Mary Lou Whitney. The hospital, the dance museum, SPAC. Think of all the things that she has meant to this area. There was no reason why she had to do that, except that that was who she was, that was her nature.
Our backstretch workers, they are the sports unsung heroes. These wonderful people work long hours in dangerous situations while often living in poor conditions. All of us should try more to improve their lives and advance their dignity.
She means a lot to the backstretch. From her smile, from her genuine giving back. They will miss her coming into the backstretch appreciation dinners when she had to do bingo and she would just show up from the tent and everything that she sponsored through the backstretch programs.
It's been 26 years. It's just one furlong away. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes.
I'm sorry that Smarty Jones couldn't win. We kept saying to Prado be second.
In victory, and a lot of times you get defeated, but she was so great in victory, and she felt sorry. She really did, which is amazing. It shows you the spirit she had.
And little Birdstone digs down. The cliff's edge could not get to him in the darkness at Saratoga.
She fought. I mean, that's a good example for everybody. Don't give up. She just kept at it, you know, and she never wavered. So, great inspiration for all, especially me.
The way she told everyone, these are our horses. It's our responsibility to take care of them, not just when they're racing, but afterward. I have never had a friend like Mary Lou before in my entire life, and I know I'll never have another friend like her.
It didn't matter whether you were a millionaire or you were a guy walking down the street in sneakers, shorts, and a t-shirt. Everybody was a somebody to Mary Lou.
Knowing these people and riding for them is an honor, a privilege, and something that I will never forget. I was very proud when I rode for the stable. It was to me like I conquered the mountain that I was trying to get up.
Every once in a while, somebody comes along that makes a difference, and then somebody comes along that makes a huge difference. A tribute to her should last forever.
To all Saratoga, thank you for my wonderful life. May God bless you, and may God shine His love on Saratoga and on this track.
An Imperial Hint is coming up to them now with a 3-wide burst, and he takes the lead. Imperial Hint has gone right by to take charge at the top of the stretch. He has left Metolian Strike Power behind. Firenze Fire is closing the gap on the inside. Diamond Oops is in the middle of the racetrack. Imperial Hint comes into the final furlong, and he has opened up to a 5-length lead. Oh, he's back! Imperial Hint's gonna win the Vanderbilt again. Oh, he won it by 4.5 lengths. And he broke the track record, 107.92 by Imperial Hint.
How about that performance from Imperial Hint, who freaked in that same race last year as well? And it should be noted who's behind him in this race.
Yeah, he beat Matoli, and he got the perfect setup there. It wouldn't matter what the setup was. He just kept finding and finding and finding, and breaks the track record.
Off that performance, is he your leader in the clubhouse for the Breeders' Cup Sprint?
He is to me. I know a lot of people might think Matoli's back, but he is to me.
Code of Honor is now making his move, and he's closing on the outside. Tacitus has been put to a full-out drive. Mucho Gusto. Code of Honor is gaining ground on the far outside. Endorsed is coming down the center. Owendale in highest honors too. They're into the final furlong. Code of Honor, Mucho Gusto, and Tacitus. Code of Honor has taken the lead, and Code of Honor and John Velasquez have won the Run Happy Travers.
Code of Honor with a Travers victory. Shug McGahee did such a tremendous job with this horse. He backed off after he didn't win the Kentucky Derby, said, we're going to skip the last 2 legs of the Triple Crown, wait for later in the summer, and wait for this race.
Yes, he did. He ran such a brave race in the Kentucky Derby. Coming through on the inside, things got tightened up for him. He continued on, but he said he needed to mature some. Comes back in the Dwyer, ran a great race in the Dwyer, was able to sit back, run him down. He showed it kind of a new dimension with that kick he had that day. Well, he took it to a whole different level in this year's Travers.
I should say point to this race. Yeah, that Dwyer, he was just sensational at Belmont. That was a 1-turn mile and looked even better. 2 turns mile and a quarter in the Travers. Number 1 moment of the meet. Here it is.
And it's a late to catch. Midnight Bijou, her fearsome foe, comes at her on the outside, and these two lay it on the line with a 16th to go. A late on the inside, Midnight Bijou on the outside. They're coming to the wire. Who's it gonna be? Oh, it's so close.
It has been an incredible rivalry between these two this year. A late Midnight Bijou in the personal ensign. Both of them ran winning races, but in the end, Mike Smith, just the magic touch on Midnight Bijou.
Yeah, and neither one deserved to lose, and it was one for the ages. Just the best horse race that we saw up here this summer, in my opinion. That's why it's number 1. Not because it was my opinion. I think that's everybody's opinion that has worked here this summer.
Hard to top that, what we saw. A race that lived up to the billing in a showdown everyone wanted to see and exceeded expectations with that stretch stool. Just tremendous. What Saratoga we were treated to this year in 2019. So enjoyable. And of course, we've talked about this a few times as well. It's the 10-year anniversary of Rachel Alexandra when she was a 3-year-old filly beating older males in the Grade 1 Woodward when she raised the rafters here.
Walking over for the race, she really had a race day feel about her. She really exuded a lot of confidence in her handlers and stuff when she was right. And, we felt good about that.
It hit us pretty much in the paddock, seeing all the other very accomplished colts that she was going to go up against, and seeing the mass of people.
Everybody loved Rachel, you know, no matter where she went. She was popular, you know, but when you come into a race like this, you know, you fixing to hook the old horses, and, you know, they had a little pressure on you.
They had decided to pass on the Travers because they had nothing to prove against 3-year-old colts. She won the Preakness, and she won the Haskell. There was certainly nothing left for her to prove with members of her own sex and generation. The only thing left was for her to go against older males.
And they're off. Steve told me, he said, you know, just go ahead and let her run away from there, and she'll carry you, you know, and she did, you know, because we went fast.
Oh, the first quarter was 22 4/5 seconds. There'll be no free ride for Rachel Alexandra. They're making her work for every step today.
Durkin's amazing call, but when he shouted out the fractions, I mean, you got a little weak.
46-2 was the half mile. Calvin Burrell was able to slow that pace down just a little bit.
When I said a bit of a breather, you know, it was just a bit of a breather. She was still going too fast.
And Macho again is firing.
From the 3/8 pole to the quarter pole, I give her a little breathing. I'll never forget it. I give her a good breathing there. And then when I asked her again, you know, she got away. So I said, well, we're fine now.
And Calvin Burrell imploring his filly for more. And Rachel Alexandra holds on to the lead.
About 40 yards from the wire. It looked like he was going to get by her, you know, but she kept digging in.
Rachel Alexandra, Macho again. They're coming down to the finish. It's going to be desperately close. Here's the wire. Rachel won. She is indeed Rachel Alexandra the Great.
For a 3-year-old filly to beat older males in a grade 1 on the dirt here at Saratoga, knowing it's happened, seems far-fetched.
Rachel Alexandra raises the rafters here at the spa.
And when I stood up, you know, and I looked at Robbie, I said, I don't care if we would have won another round. You would have never got by her, you know. That's the type of horse she was.
I mean, it was thunderous. The whole grandstand was shaking.
All those people in the grandstand screaming their lungs out, all of that air into wooden beams that are 100 years old. And it literally hits them with such force that it made them move. And that's what I felt, literally, in my feet. And that's why I said she raised the rafters in Saratoga.
Afterwards, with a great sense of relief, and watching her leave the winner's circle and walk the length of the racetrack to the test barn with the fans 10, 15 deep. They kind of bubbled as she walked. It was very special.
She's an icon. We have a giant statue of her at the farm. She's happy, and she's definitely retired, but she'll run around the paddock a little bit.
Something as special and unique as Rachel is why we all do this. And be able to relive it, you know, that how blessed we've been to be in her presence, and what a horse like Rachel can do for us that we've never been able to do for ourselves.